Immortal Cultivation begins with time management. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyright or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 726 Green Hell. Convince? No need. Just take them to the deeper part. Long led everyone to continue to move forward along the riverbed, only to feel that the miasma in front of them was getting more and more intense. At first it was a light green, but now it has turned into a thick yellow green, and just touching it makes you feel dizzy with stars in your eyes. Brother Long. Keenyi coughed violently. We can't get through this front, right? If we keep going forward, we will really be poisoned to death halfway. Long turned around and looked at everyone, only to see that the Keen brothers and sisters were already shaky, and although the little fox was still holding on, his face was already extremely pale. TSK, I made a mistake. I calculated everything clearly, but I didn't expect that my cultivation strength was far ahead of my peers, so that you can't keep up with me at all. Since we have entered the swamp, we definitely cannot retreat. Long thought carefully for a moment and said, if someone blocks the estuary from Jinjing to the swamp, we will be walking into a trap if we retreat. Why don't you retreat to a place where the poison is not so strong, and I will continue to move forward along the original route to get reinforcements. That's okay, Qin Zhao was about to agree, but he only heard Long say, no. How can we rest here and let you go on an adventure alone? Her words were so righteous that the Keen brothers and sisters were speechless. Long hurriedly persuaded her gently. It's not that you want me to take the risk alone, but the miasma ahead is so strong that only I can continue to move forward. If your physical constitution could not support it, how could I leave you here? Then I can still hold on. Long took the opportunity to say, I'll go with you. It's not impossible. Long pondered for a moment, then turned to the Keen brothers and sisters. Then you take shelter here first. Keenyi was about to say something, but Qin Zhao pulled him behind him and said, Long, you should be careful too. If you can't hold on, retreat as soon as possible and we'll find another way. Of course. Long smiled slightly and continued to move forward with Dragon Fox. Looking at the backs of the two people going away, Keenyi showed a look of wanting to say something but stopping, and then lowered his eyes sadly for a long time. Sister, isn't it brother who is talking about you? Qin Zhao frowned and taught her, is this the time to compete with her? Your body has been unable to support it for a long time. Keenyi was speechless, but just said sadly, I understand the truth, but I lost in the end, brother, so Qin Zhao also fell silent. Long continued to move forward with Dragon Fox, only to see that the miasma here was so strong that it almost blocked the vision. Is it poisonous in the water, or is it water mixed with poison? Looking at the little fox next to him, it was completely unable to support it at this time, and just drooped on his body. Even though she was already in a semi-coma, she still didn't ask to leave, which moved Long inexplicably. Do you think it's fun to force yourself to follow me? I'm going to explore the way, not to cheat. But since the fox is already unconscious, I can use some tricks. Thinking of this, Long secretly pinched his fingers and displayed the acquired 5 elements divine light. Sure enough, with a sweep of the 5 elements divine light, no matter what kind of poison you have, the poison of Jiamu or Yinmu, all disappeared. The river water also became clear. Long looked around again and found that there were wildly growing water plants everywhere, almost completely covering the entire river surface. Solitary yin cannot produce, solitary yang cannot grow, and the Jiamuki is so vigorous that it grows almost out of control. When the vitality is stimulated to the extreme, it will quickly decay and fall to the bottom of the river to rot. At this time, in front of Long and Longu, there was such a scene. Above their heads, countless wildly growing water plants weaved a huge green dome, and only the faint sunlight could penetrate. The riverbed under their feet was completely covered with thick mud, which was the remains left after countless water plants were squeezed dry of their vitality. There was vitality above, and there was death below, constructing this green hell, which made Long even a little dazed for a while. But he was a man of strong will after all, and soon came to his senses after a Jin's reminder, and continued to move forward with Longu. Gradually, more miasma penetrated along the water, and then was evaporated by Long with the 5 elements of divine light. Just like this, they continued to move forward for more than 200 miles, and finally there was no way to go ahead. The waterway was completely blocked by a large amount of water plants, and there was no gap to drill. However, considering the strong miasma of this swamp, no one dared to enter, but they didn't have to stay in the water. So Long picked up Longo and walked towards the shore. The situation on land was even more exaggerated than in the river. The trees were towering, and the endless branches and leaves formed a green and opaque cloud. The lower places were completely occupied by vines and weeds, densely packed and climbing to people's ankles. Below were countless layers of soft, rotten fallen leaves. It seemed as if something was crawling when you stepped on them, which made people shudder. Long carefully scanned the bottom and found that under the fallen leaves was thick mud, and there were countless lungworms in the mud. These lungworms were constantly born, mated, and then died. The life cycle of each one was less than 10 seconds. It seemed that they were affected by the geometry in the miasma and had been deformed into a terrible species. Long's face was neither sad nor happy, and he was not moved by the terrifying scenes at all. He just walked in the direction where the miasma was most violent. Finally, he came to a valley, and saw that the trees were twisted and tangled, completely blocking the entrance to the valley, and a large number of roots were entrenched on the ground, making it difficult to move. Long's expression remained unchanged, and he stretched out his finger as if picking up a flower. Wherever he pointed, all the trees spontaneously caught fire without wind, and soon turned into ashes and scattered, clearing the way. Long continued to move forward with the dragon fox in his arms. Countless vines rustled through the fallen leaves, and they seemed to wrap around his ankles like snakes, but before they got close to him, they were swept by the 5 elements' divine light, and immediately broke into several pieces as if they were chopped by a knife or an axe. Finally, they stepped into the valley. The strange thing was that there were many trees blocking the way outside, but there was no green inside, just a shallow lake. In the lake, there was a poisonous dragon coiled, with a huge body, almost filling the entire valley. It was quite similar to the ground root python that everyone had seen underground before, and its breath was even better. Along with its breathing, a large amount of green mist spewed out of its nostrils and spread in all directions. The miasma poison that spread throughout the swamp was a byproduct of the poisonous dragon's practice. Long scanned again for a moment and found that the poisonous dragon was at the immortal level, but for some reason it had fallen into a coma, and its bloodliner skills were only functioning instinctively. Well, should we save it? Chapter 727. Long, the justice of heaven. Don't be silly. Kingpin Sword saw through his thoughts and said, you can't save him. What do you mean? There is no medicine to cure the imbalance of yin and yang. Kingpin Sword replied, and there is no need for medicine. Sleep here for 1,000 or 10,000 years, let the yin and yang in the body reharmony, the problem will be solved by itself, there is no quick solution. I see. Long smiled and said, Kingpin, you are so knowledgeable. Master Sword Master, you are joking. How can my humble knowledge compare to 1/10,000th of Master Sword Master? Kingpin, if you really want to compliment someone, you can use a more sincere tone instead of reciting mechanically like this. Long looked at the poisonous dragon again, thinking that it was a pity that he couldn't get some benefits from this person. Oh, no, it was that I didn't help this poisonous dragon ancestor. I feel very sad and guilty. His eyes turned around the poisonous dragon and finally fell on the entrance of the cave behind it. However, since this poisonous dragon ancestor will sleep for 1,000 or even 10,000 years, what about the treasures in his cave? It's not safe to leave it here. Someone will definitely go in and steal it. It's better to leave it here temporarily. I will keep it for the poison dragon ancestor. Thinking of this, Long confirmed with a Jin again that the immortal was in a coma and it was impossible for him to wake up suddenly. Then he took the dragon fox and quietly approached the cave. The entrance is located behind the shallow lake, on a slightly raised hill, without any cover. Long wandered at the entrance of the cave for a long time, very cautious. First test whether the poison dragon has woken up, then confirm whether the little fox will wake up halfway, then let a Jin scan the entrance of the cave to check if there are any restrictions, and finally let Kingpin Sword go in to explore the way, which is very stable. The strange thing is that there are no traps set at the entrance of the cave, not even the basic maze that interferes with the consciousness. This is strange. If there is no maze at the entrance of the cave, it is equivalent to opening the door to thieves and welcoming everyone to come as guests. How is this possible? Kingpin Sword explored a circle and found that there were no traps inside, not even the most basic furniture, only some messy bones and moldy and rotten straw. Could it be that someone had already come here first and looted all the valuable treasures? Long walked in and looked around, but still found nothing. It seemed that the cave of the poisonous dragon ancestor had been robbed a long time ago. Impossible, absolutely impossible. He left the cave entrance and began to search the entire valley. If I were the ancestor of the poisonous dragon, Long Long thought silently, before I fall into a coma, I must prevent anyone from robbing my cave. The normal idea is, of course, that I will set up countless traps and restrictions at the entrance of the cave, so that people cannot break in, and they will die if they come in. For example, the miasma that fills the swamp, I think it was done intentionally by the other party. But what if the coma lasts for a very long time? If the ancestor of the poisonous dragon already knew that he would be in a coma for 1,000 or 10,000 years, then no matter how many restrictions were set, it would not be safe after all. After all, the night is long and dreams are many. Even if the restriction is as difficult as ascending to heaven to crack, it may be studied for 100 years or 1,000 years, and there may be a way to bypass it. In other words, a better way is to set up a maze. Set up a cave outside that has been robbed, so that latecomers will think they are a step late, and set the real cave entrance somewhere else. Thinking of this, Long Long cast his gaze below the poisonous dragon Immortal. After a long and careful scan, he found that there seemed to be a cave under the pool where the other party was entrenched. Long Long then dived into the pool, cleverly drilled through the huge body of the poisonous dragon, and found the cave. There was a maze at the entrance of the cave, disguising this place as a solid lake bottom, but how could it be hidden from Long Long? With his extraordinary attainments in formation, Long Long quickly cracked the maze and shot the kingpin sword into it. Countless spells flashed wildly, and the whole cave suddenly roared loudly. The ground trembled and the ripples in the pool shook, so that Long Long was a little frightened, fearing that the ancestor of the poisonous dragon would suddenly wake up. After about half a quarter of an hour, the spell fluctuations finally subsided. The poisonous dragon still showed no signs of waking up. Long Long looked into the cave and saw that it had been blown to pieces. Only the bright and new kingpin sword flew back to his side elegantly and calmly. By the way, what material is my natal sword made of? Even the restrictions set by the immortals can't do anything to it. I'll have to let Lily study it when I have time. Retracting his messy thoughts, Long Long calmly stepped into the cave. He saw that the cave was filled with mountains of sun crystals and moon crystals. These two are similar to the spiritual stones in the world of cultivation. They store the power of the sun and the moon, which can be absorbed by the demons to refine and sublimate their blood, so they are also a considerable fortune. Unfortunately, most of the restrictions triggered by the kingpin sword were destroyed, and only about 1/3 of them are left. Turning the corner, you can see the next cave room, which is full of treasures. There are flying swords, talismans, magic weapons, elixirs, there are many styles, and they all emit spiritual light and treasures. Obviously, their ranks are not low. Long Long was overjoyed, so he took out the storage bag and put all these treasures, together with the sun and moon crystals outside, into the bag on his waist. After confirming that everything had been looted, Long Long came out with satisfaction and bowed to the unconscious body of the poisonous dragon several times to express his gratitude. Although the rank of these treasures was not too low, Long Long usually dealt with the 11th rank flying sword Wangxiang Juepsen sword and the Kaian Kumzo Hotian Yushinshu, and his horizons had long been raised to an outrageous degree. If it were not the kind of world-famous and well-known top treasure, it would not even have a chance to appear in Long Long's hands. Even if Long Long had 5 trumpets, it would be the same. Just as he was about to leave with Long Hu, just as he reached the entrance of the valley, Long Long suddenly stopped again. Wait a minute, is this really your? Long Long suddenly remembered that a long time ago, when he and the fox were still wandering around, they had found a secret room in the Fuzang sacred tree, which contained 3 treasures, namely the divine crow tube, the glass lamp, and the genealogy of the 3-legged golden crow clan. Of course, the point is not these treasures, but the fact that they are separated and stored separately, which reminds Long Long now. Could it be that this old ancestor of the poisonous dragon also took out the most precious treasures and stored them somewhere else? Thinking carefully, it is very likely. First of all, although the many treasures in the cave are precious, compared with the status of an immortal, they are a bit of quantity but not quality. At least some immortal level stuff, right? Secondly, isn't it normal for an immortal who has a history of digging fake caves to deceive people to use a cunning trick? It was a close call. I was almost fooled by you. After understanding this, Long Long was full of contempt, disdain for the despicable behavior of the old ancestor of the poisonous dragon. Old ancestor of the poisonous dragon, you probably don't know the story of the golden axe and the silver axe, so I'm telling you now. If you put the things outside openly, I can still leave some for you. Since you were doing this kind of trick of pretending to be submissive, then I have to have a good talk with you. As an immortal ancestor, you did not think about benefiting the Donghuan realm, but instead filled the entire swamp with miasma in order to heal yourself. I'm not wrong to blame you, am I? This piece of land in Nanzhao could have nurtured countless monsters, but you destroyed the environment and made it as miserable as purgatory. Isn't this also true? In the countless years in the past, countless monster monks broke into the swamp for various reasons and finally died under your poison. You can't deny this, right? You must know that the law of cause and effect is inevitable. You have done so many evil things, and now retribution has come to you. I, Long, will enforce justice on behalf of heaven today and find all your belongings. Chapter 728. Save, but not all. Long continued to search the valley. The valley was not small, but it seemed extremely cramped and narrow after being occupied by the huge body of the poisonous dragon. Apart from the central lake, there were no trees in the valley. I think they were killed by the poisonous dragon's poison spray. The environment was destroyed a bit too much. How dare you? After circling the poisonous dragon for a few times, Long still did not find more clues. He was a little shaken. He checked the ground and the underground, and there was no maze or strange space fluctuations. Where could it be hidden? In this case, there can only be one answer. Long pondered. Well, there should be nothing. Cumlin Mirror comforted him. It's okay to make a mistake. Everyone makes a wrong guess sometimes. What guess is wrong? It's too early to judge now. Long rolled his eyes and said, I guess the thing was swallowed by him. Cumlin Mirror. The underground has been completely scanned, and the entire valley has been searched except for the poisonous dragon's body. Long sneered, where else can it hide except in his stomach? You are? Cumlin Jin thought that what she said was a bit too unrealistic, but on second thought, it seemed possible. The human race has the great method of the universe in the sleeve, and the demon race also has the technique of swallowing the sun and the moon in the belly. The White Tiger clan is famous for this technique. It is said that it can swallow monsters into the stomach and refine them directly. It can also keep flying swords in the mouth and spit them out at the critical moment to kill the enemy. But it is hard to say whether the poisonous dragon can use this technique. She remained silent and just scanned the poisonous dragon. Scanning a cultivator is nearly 100 times more difficult than scanning the terrain of a mile in radius. In order to make Long give up completely, Cumlin Jin scanned extremely carefully this time, almost checking every scale on the poisonous dragon. Well, there is no abnormal space fluctuation, I said. Well, what's going on, a Jin? Long asked hurriedly. It's not hidden in the stomach, but this guy swallowed some foreign objects. Cumlin Mirror replied. What foreign objects? Long asked. Western type by Zheng Jin. Cumlin Mirror said in a strange tone, you scum, cough, you're really lucky. Did you mean to say just now, why are you so lucky? Long said with empty eyes, warning once. The so-called Western type by Zheng Jin, also known as gold fallen from the sky, is the most difficult thing to obtain among the innate 5 elements. As the name suggests, it refers to the meteor that fell from the type I star in the sky and fell into the human world. It contains foreign metals, which are denser, harder, and more difficult to destroy than any existing metal in the world. At present, there is no known Western type by Zheng Jin in the human world, and there is only one piece in the Eastern Empire realm, which is kept by the White Tiger clan in the sacred mountain of their family. It is said that it is only taken out during sacrifices. Anyway, Long felt that he would never get involved. But I didn't expect it to be in this place. He suddenly realized something, and discussed with Cumlin Mirror and Kingping Sword. What do you think? Could this Western type by Zheng Jin be stolen by the poisonous dragon ancestor from the White Tiger? Let's assume that the poisonous dragon ancestor stole the Zheng Jin from the White Tiger, and then fled here. Wait. Kingping Sword suddenly said, this type by Zheng Jin is the king of gold, and it has a great restraint on the wood element. If it is buried underground, no grass will grow within 100 miles. Is this poisonous dragon crazy or possessed, so that in order to steal such a thing that restrains itself, it would even swallow it into its stomach, causing its own yin and yang to be out of balance and forced to fall asleep again? That's not what he meant. Cumlin Mirror explained, he just wanted to classify the Zheng Jin as stolen property, so that he can take it with peace of mind. What nonsense are you talking about, you broken mirror? After being exposed by the Cumlin Mirror, Long couldn't hold back and quickly scolded, I just made a bold assumption and carefully verified it. In my opinion, the poisonous dragon ancestor didn't steal this thing, but was poisoned by someone. The Cumlin Mirror ignored him and just said. Poisoned? Long asked curiously. Just as it said, no one would be stupid enough to swallow that poison directly into the stomach in order to steal it. Kunlun Mirror said calmly, not to mention, this poisonous dragon ancestor does not know how to swallow the sun and the moon in his stomach. After swallowing it, how to take it out is also a problem. Why does it want to suffer? But if it was poisoned and taken by mistake without knowing it, wouldn't all the doubts be explained? Although the Western type by Jin is strong and indestructible, if it is refined by a secret method, it can be made to flow like molten iron. Mix it in wine or elixir to trick the poisonous dragon ancestor into taking it. When the Western type by Jin loses its true energy supply, it will solidify again, stick to the stomach and colon, pierce the chest and stomach, and even cause it to be out of balance between yin and yang, with your wood declining and your wood alone surviving. What you said does make some sense. Long pondered, it is precisely because the gold system restrains the wood system, so if you want to use the wood system to fight against the gold system, you must focus on your wood and give up your wood. We originally thought that this poison dragon ancestor was practicing some secret method, which led to his yang being strong and his yin being weak. Now it seems that it is more likely that he had to do it. The more Long thought about it, the more he felt that it was very likely, because yang being strong and his yin being weak is extremely dangerous and unprofitable for a cultivator. If you are not careful, at the least, your skills will be wasted, and at the worst, you'll die. It is not impossible. Unless the cultivator himself is facing a life or death situation, he will have no scruples and will do anything. For example, Su Jian has been in the life and death gate for so many years, and he even ignored his daughter and apprentice. For example, the old man in black buried himself under the ice to suppress his inner demons. Thinking of this, Long finally connected the past and the present and figured out the ins and outs of the matter. In this way, I took out the Tai Bai Jin from the stomach of the poison dragon ancestor, which is equivalent to directly helping him solve the most deadly source. Then, the financial expenses that I kept for him before should be accepted as medical expenses. It is also reasonable, right? Poison dragon ancestor, what do you think? If you have any objections, just say it directly. If you don't, I will assume that you agree. Okay, the patient has no objection, so we can start preparing for the operation. Jing. Long suddenly asked, if you transmit the Tai Bai Jin in his abdomen out, will he wake up immediately? Of course. Kunlun Jing replied, after all, he is an immortal. If he hadn't been struggling with the Tai Bai Jin in his abdomen, there is no reason why he wouldn't wake up. Okay. Long laughed and said, can you only transmit a part of it out? Leave only a small part in his body, so that he needs 10 days or half a month to refine it and wake up. Kunlun Jing. Chapter 729 Return to Dongzhou. At this point, the innate 5 elements true veins have all been gathered. The vast water of the North Sea comes from the gate-guarding formation of the ancient Jirizhou ruins in the Wazi Islands. The soil of the mountains and peaks comes from the Li ancient treasure house at the bottom of Yue Island in the East China Sea. The towering trees come from the reward given to Luoyang by the Wangxi Immortal. The fire of the Sunday comes from the Yuan cave at the bottom of Shu Mountain. Now, the gold that fell from the sky has been taken from the belly of the poisonous dragon ancestor, and the innate 5 elements true veins are all gathered. Next, we have to find a time and place to refine it, so that the acquired 5 elements Great Extinction Divine Light can be upgraded to the innate 5 elements Great Chaos Divine Light. Of course, before that, Long has to take Long Hu and the Qin brothers and sisters out before the poisonous dragon ancestor wakes up completely. Most of the Western type by Jin in the poisonous dragon ancestor's body has been taken out by the Kunlun mirror, and the reaction brought about by this is that the green gas he spews out has become much lighter than before. When the immortal completely controlled the Jianyuki in his body, he would wake up from his coma. If there was a choice, Long would definitely not plunder his cave again, but now the underground cave has been blown to pieces and cannot be completely restored, so he can only run away as soon as possible. Of course, before running away, he had to let a Jin use illusion to arrange the surroundings, for example, leaving the breath of the White Tiger clan, so that the poison dragon ancestor would know who to seek revenge. Where did the Western type by Jin come from? It must have been given by the White Tiger clan. It is natural for the poison dragon ancestor to seek revenge on the White Tiger clan. Taking the dragon fox back along the original route, as the surrounding miasma gradually weakened, the little fox finally woke up halfway. Long. She opened her eyes in a daze, hugged his neck, and cried, "What's wrong with me? You just fainted." So Long told the fox the story in detail. To put it simply, Long was not afraid of dangers and obstacles. After going through untold hardships, he escaped the White Tiger clan's pursuit and finally found a poisonous dragon practicing poison in a valley deep in the swamp. In order to practice some kind of poisonous skill, the poisonous dragon turned the entire swamp into a green purgatory. When it was at a critical moment of its practice, it was discovered by Long Long. Long Long was righteous and advised him to think about the lives of all living things in the world and not to attract karma. The poisonous dragon was moved by his nobleness and was hesitating for a long time. Suddenly, the White Tiger pursuers broke in and interrupted the poisonous dragon's practice. The ancestor was furious and went to chase and kill the White Tiger pursuers, so Long Long was able to escape with Long Hu. Long Hu listened blankly and instinctively felt that what Long Long said was untrue, and probably 70% to 80% of it was a lie. But she was just a fox after all, could she still argue? She just lay in his arms, listening obediently and docilely, and from time to time, when Long Long talked about the thrilling part, she would exclaim in cooperation, and then pat her chest to express her fear. After patting her chest, Long Long couldn't continue. Although the little fox was a little fox, it was not small after the transformation. After all, the Fur tribe and the Horn tribe were mammals, so Long Long coughed awkwardly and moved his eyes away. When he returned to the original place, Long Long saw that Qin Yi had fainted, and Qin Zhao was still guarding his sister, struggling to support. It's all done, and the miasma will be reduced next. Since Long Hu had regained consciousness, Long Long put her aside, turned around and picked up Qin Yi again. Let's go to the beach immediately. Everyone moved forward quickly along the waterway. Sure enough, the deeper they went, the lighter the miasma around them became. It meant that the ancestor of the poisonous dragon was gradually regaining control of his body. Long Long was anxious, so he made a long story short and told the story to Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao had no doubts, but was worried that the poisonous dragon ancestor would chase after him and kill people to vent his anger, so he also tried his best to hurry on his way. Dragon Fox was a little depressed, and his ears drooped when he saw Qin Yi being held in Long Long's arms. Long Long saw this and wanted to comfort her not to be jealous. The scale girl was so flat, how could she compare with you? But his brother-in-law was right next to him, so he couldn't say it clearly, so he could only keep finding topics to divert her attention. Everyone moved forward along the much clearer Jinjiang River. As the green miasma gradually faded, the picture of the green hell around them began to appear in front of everyone. The water plants intertwined, the rotten mud, which should have been a vibrant picture, presented a different kind of dead silence and withering atmosphere in everyone's eyes. Qin Zhao felt hairy when he saw it, and thought of what Long Long had said before, that a fairy-level poisonous dragon was staying here, so he immediately used a little more strength to escape, wishing to leave this swamp immediately. The crowd finally rushed out of Jinjiang and entered the canyon entrance of Kayun mountain range, and Qin Yi also woke up slowly. The peaks here are steep and towering, as if they were cut by a knife and chiseled, and even trees can hardly grow on them. There are many turbulent currents in the canyon, and there are countless reefs. Even if they're as hard as a shell turtle, they will be crushed to pieces if they are pushed and hit by the water flow. But the group of people are all transformed monks, and their bodies are strong, so they are not afraid. Not long after entering the canyon, they heard a shocking roar from the distance behind. The roar was so full of anger that the four of them couldn't help but shudder. The power of the immortal is still so terrifying even if it is separated by thousands of mountains and rivers. Long Long didn't dare to say much, but just told everyone not to talk nonsense after returning, so as not to let the poisonous dragon ancestor know that they are gossiping and come to the door. Seeing that the poisonous dragon ancestor was so irritable, the Qin brothers and sisters were also silent and nodded repeatedly. The following journey was much smoother. Everyone left the Kayun mountains, and since then, the dragons returned to the sea, and no one could chase them. It didn't take long for the four to finally reach Jianmu Island. Before they arrived at the island, patrolling dragon monks found them and quickly led them to the clan leader. Clan leader Qin Bi was overjoyed to see his children, Long Long and Long Hu, returning safely. It turned out that the great elder Qin Kang had covered everyone and broke out of the ambush circle of the Horn clan, and then lost contact with Dong Zhao, and it is still unknown whether he is alive or dead. You know, the team is full of children of high-ranking officials. Now the return of Long Long and others can be regarded as a shot of confidence for the elders. Even the four who left the team early can escape, so the other younger generation should be fine with the protection of the great elders, right? In short, Long Long and Long Hu rested on the island for a few days, and then they realized that because of the ambush, the dragon clan was still supporting Nan Zhao in a covert manner, and now they have begun to mobilize thoroughly. A large number of dragon monks were reorganized by the clan, and then began to invade Thongzhou from the western border. This is a strategy of besieging Wei to save Zhao. If Thong Zhao returns troops to rescue, the pressure on Nan Zhao will be relieved. If there is no rescue, the Dragon clan will go all the way west and push to the imperial capital. There'll always be a time when you can't stand it anymore and come to rescue. Since the mobilization has been going on for a while, Long Long and others are not on the list, so they can rest for a while. With this in mind, Long Long decided to read Qiu Chang's Tian's file, and then find a place to refine the last piece of type by Zheng Jin, and completely cultivate this into the innate 5 elements of Chaos Divine Light. A Jin, go to Kunlin. Chapter 730. The battle between good and evil. Chang Zhen led the battle. At the edge of Kunlin, in the far west, there is an uninhabited cave somewhere. Qiu Chang's Tian slowly retracted the divine light, and after a long pause, he revealed a mysterious smile. He slightly bent his fingers, and then a ray of colorful light popped out. The colorful light penetrated the cave wall like a flying sword, and then stone chips fell down. Before they fell to the ground, they turned into ashes and disappeared. What is it like to cultivate the innate 5 elements great chaos divine light? Qiu Chang's Tian had only one answer to this. Mysterious. Since this thing can be related to chaos, it is naturally not an ordinary thing. There is at least a set of cultivation methods for the acquired 5 elements Great Extinction Divine Light, which was personally passed on to Luoyan's Sea of Consciousness by Li Gong. As for the innate 5 elements Chaos Divine Light, after refining the gold that fell from the sky, it immediately completed some kind of wonderful transformation in rank. Qiu Chang's Tian was even confused about this and had no idea why it changed. It's like the ancients saw an apple fall to the ground, and they knew that everything was subject to a downward force, but no one could explain the source of this force. In short, according to the records and speculations in the classics, this innate 5-element divine light is the nemesis of all things that are not out of the 5 elements. Even the Liangyi microdust sword in the hands of the Shushan Longmei immortal would fall to the ground and lose its spirituality immediately after being brushed by this innate 5-element divine light. It can be said that after having this innate 5-element divine light, he hit the trump card to fight against the immortals for the first time. As for why Jin and Shenron would deliberately plan to fight against the immortals, there is no need to say more. Now, Qiu Chang's Tian, who has achieved great success in his magical powers, seems to have undergone a complete transformation in his temperament, and his whole body is full of the self-confidence of a strong man. Then, he was restrained like a sword returning to its sheath. Qiu Chang's Tian left the cave, and before he walked far, he saw a ray of fire passing through the sky and coming to his side in an instant. The visitor had skin like jade, facial features like a painting, no makeup, no pearl hairpins, black hair falling like a waterfall. Who else could it be but the Taoist partner and junior sisters Yu Yin and Yan? Brother. She frowned and said in a deep voice, Master summoned you to Yuxu Palace. It seems there is something important. Okay, I'll go right away. Qiu Chang's Tian said calmly. I'll go with you. Zhu Ying or Yan said. The two of them flew to Kunlun Tianzhu and arrived at Yuxu Palace, only to see that all the elders were there, with serious faces. Ziwi's sect leader stood on the high platform, but he did not wear the usual Kaibahoisk, but carried the Chifengguang sword on his back, with a cold look on his face. Seeing the two most valued disciples coming here, Ziwi's sect master slowly said, This time the demon sect invites us to fight. As the leader of the righteous path, Kunlun has no choice but to respond. The 6 paths are led by Jin and Shenron. If Kunlun sends a Yuning elder out, it will be underestimated. Chang Zhen. Disciple is here. Qiu Chang's Tian hurriedly stepped forward. You'll coordinate the overall situation in the future, and you can command the sect. Ziwi's sect master said lightly. Disciple obeys. Qiu Chang's Tian immediately agreed. Although he didn't know what happened, he just agreed anyway. So next, Ziwi's sect master explained a series of matters, mainly the mobilization of manpower and resources. Qiu Chang's Tian stood by and listened quietly, and finally figured out a clue. It turned out that Wei Donliu sent a letter to Kisun Immortal in the name of the Blood Sea ancestor to invite him to fight. The letter mentioned that the entire Yonzthong area was used as a hunting ground, and he was willing to invite Kunlun to cut the deer. Qin lost its deer, and the world chased it together. The meaning of this letter is very clear, that is, it believes that Kunlun has lost his morality and wants to compete with Kunlun for the resource mining rights in the Yonzthong area. How can Kunlun tolerate this? The ordinary life sect, which couldn't even clean up the Watai Mountain garrison, now dares to challenge my Kunlun Tai King sect. In addition, Wei Dongliu borrowed the tiger skin of the Blood Sea Patriarch according to Wetikiet and came to invite him openly. Kunlun naturally had no reason to refuse. We must teach the ordinary life sect a severe lesson. Qiu Changtai also had a lot of complaints about this. The strategy that the three pure ones who have the upper hand have always pursued is nothing more than forcing the six paths to accept the existing order. After all, the current situation is that the orthodox religion has the upper hand, which is beneficial to the righteous path. On the other hand, although the six paths of the Jiao were at a disadvantage, they do not just want to challenge or even subvert the order, but also seek to weaken or even plunder the three pure ones of the orthodox religion, strive to strengthen and enrich the hard power of the sect, and make alliances with each other, etc. And their initiative is not a little bit strong. The most obvious point is that the six paths have launched two large-scale attacks in recent years, one to besiege Penglai and the other to besiege Shushan, and each time the six paths were united, without exception. On the other hand, the Orthodox Church, although it clearly has a strategic advantage, has never thought of taking the initiative to attack the six paths, and basically only started to fight back after being beaten. Moreover, the alliance between them is extremely fragile. Shushan is extremely dissatisfied with Kunlun. Kunlun thinks that you are all my little brothers, and Penglai will only shout 666 from behind. When it comes to using knives and guns, they will reluctantly send out a few cats and dogs, and Kunlun and Shushan actually think it is natural. Today's Orthodox Church and the Demonic Church are like the late feudal empire and the surrounding alien races. Obviously, the former crushes the latter in size, but it can only exert 20% to 30% of its full strength, which is really strange. If Qiu Changtai was really just Qiu Changtai, then when he became the head of Kunlun sect, he would definitely try every means to carry out reforms. At least he would have to change the old idea of keeping his own piece of land in Kunlun sect. Of course, Qiu Changtai did not intend to change this now, otherwise he would be at odds with Wei Dongliu, which would be asking for trouble. After the meeting, Qiu Changtai and Zhu Yingyan were called to the lecture room by the Ziwili sect master and asked, Changzhen, do you know why the sect wants you to coordinate the overall situation this time? Of course it's because Wei Dongliu is also in the Golden Core realm. Qiu Changtai said respectfully, if we Kunlun want to send an Ascent Soul Elder, Wei Dongliu was not qualified enough. This really made Kunlun proud, so although he was wrong, the Ziwili sect master did not refute it, but said calmly, it is said that the Wei Demon Head also formed a first-grade golden elixir. What? Qiu Changtai was stunned for a moment, only to hear Zhu Yingyan's exclamation, the Demon Head also formed a first-grade golden elixir. How is this possible? Qing, don't be surprised. The Ziwili sect master said leisurely, it's just a rumor. It is said that the Wei Demon Head was originally a nobody, but was valued by the Bloodsea ancestor because he formed a first-grade golden elixir. If it is a rumor, it is better not to spread it without verifying its authenticity. Zhu Yingyan said worriedly, otherwise, the more cautious we are with that demon, the more we will build momentum for him. What's wrong with building momentum? Ziwili sect leader smiled slightly, if he has not formed a first-grade golden elixir, as long as it is exposed, wouldn't it be a humiliation for the demon sect? What if the demon is really a first-grade golden elixir? Zhu Yingyan asked bluntly. Then it would be just right for us to let Changzhen deal with it. Ziwili sect leader asked. Zhu Yingyan was speechless. Qiu Changtai watched silently from the side and noticed that Ziwili sect leader seemed to have been certain that Wei Dongliu had formed a first-grade golden elixir. In other words, the reason why the Bloodsea Patriarch suddenly chose Wei Dongliu was because he knew that he was a first-grade golden elixir. Who told the Bloodsea Patriarch about this? The Hell Road. Could it be that when I entered the Hell, Taoist Dodo had used some means to detect the grade of my golden elixir? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 731. Sister Zhu is my secretary. The policy of young Kardas was approved by the Immortal Cultivation and was set by the Ziwili sect leader. In this operation, the commander-in-chief was Changzhen, and the deputy commander was Qing. If it were in the mortal world, this practice of letting young people take the position would definitely cause a lot of waves. However, firstly, the momentum for Changzhen had already started a long time ago, and now the prestige has been laid enough. Secondly, there are the endorsements of the Ziwili sect leader and the Immortal Cultivation, and thirdly, the cultivators care more about their own cultivation than the power of the sect, so no one raised any objections and acquiesced to the arrangement of the Ziwili sect leader. Qiu Chang's Han also came into contact with many overall affairs of the Kunlun sect in a natural way. To be honest, he was not interested at all. Wei Dongliu had already dealt with enough affairs, and there was no need to continue dealing with Kunlun's affairs. So Qiu Chang's Han could only use the old method, called Junior Sister's Yu to his side, and said with a smile, "Junior Sister, have you read these materials?" "No." Zhu Yingyan was very calm. "After all, senior brother is responsible for coordinating the overall situation. I didn't read it." "Ha ha ha, you and I are Taoist companions, what's the difference between us?" Qiu Chang's Han laughed heartily, took out a piece of material and handed it to her. "Take a look." Zhu Yingyan took it naturally, flipped through it for a while, and said, "The number of disciples in the Foundation establishment realm has continued to decline in recent years. 2 reasons. Qiu Chang's Han said calmly, "One is that the number of people who have formed a pill in recent years is relatively large, and the other is that the number of disciples recruited from outside is indeed less. It's mainly the latter." Zhu Yingyan thought, "There are fewer and fewer disciples who can complete the Kunlun Ascension Road. It's better to relax the standard." Qiu Chang's Han pondered, "If the number of disciples in the Foundation establishment realm can't keep up, I'm afraid that after a few 60 years, it will affect the overall structure of cultivators in Kunlun." "Not very likely." Zhu Yingyan raised an objection. "Completing the road to heaven within 3 days is a hard requirement for becoming a disciple at Kunlun. If this condition is relaxed, not to mention the elders, the current disciples will also have opinions." "That's true." Qiu Chang's Han naturally understood this truth, just like a landlord in the same community who is unwilling to let his neighbor reduce the price of his second-hand house. "Then what plan do you have, Junior Sister?" "In the past, most of the people who joined our Kunlun sect were members of aristocratic families who practiced cultivation, as well as the children of high-level officials of various small and medium-sized sects." Zhu Yingyan pondered for a moment, and suddenly said, "To put it simply, it is these people's background and surrounding connections that enable them to be exposed to cultivation earlier. In other words, among those seekers of the Tao from poor backgrounds, are there many people who also have the talent for cultivation, but because of family reasons, they cannot pass Kunlun's entrance test. If we can set up Taoist temples all over Shenzhou and hire Taoist priests from the mortal world to specifically search for some poor children with talent for cultivation, wouldn't we be able to better search for talents for the sect?" Qiu Chang's Han was slightly surprised when he heard this. "It's not that Sister's Yu's plan is bad, on the contrary, it is very good. This is how the admissions office in modern society came about, and major universities have already had very mature plans. However, this is a world of cultivation with very primitive management efficiency. In more enterprising sects like the 6 Paths of the Demon sect, the elders will run around in Shenzhou and grab disciples they like to become their disciples. For example, Wei Dongliu accepted Yuo Jin and Bang Xun, and Elder Kaimo accepted Jing Monu. But most of them are wooden operations. I'm here, saying nothing. If you come to become my disciple, I don't like it. If you don't come, I'm not sad. Anyway, just lie down and wait for others to come and join." Kunlun, Shushan, Penglai, and most of the slightly larger sects basically do this. They even call it rule by inaction, believing that not caring about anything is the highest essence of management. In such an environment, Sisters you can actually think of setting up admissions offices, which is really a feat that breaks through the thinking rut. What reason is there to not agree? Okay. Junior Sister, you said it very well. Let me add a few words. Qiu Chang's Han's thinking became active, and he simply moved the management system of later enterprises over, and said with a smile, "First of all, the Taoist priest needs to be selected from our Kunlun's outer disciples. This is to ensure the centripetal force of the major Taoist temples. Each outer disciple, if willing to be assigned to the major Taoist temples in Jiuzhou, will be awarded the first-class merit, and it is agreed that they will return to Kunlun after a certain number of years. This content will be regarded as a sect task and calculated according to the corresponding remuneration. During the period of assignment, if you can find a talented cultivator, you can directly recommend it to the sect. If the recommendation is successful, an additional reward will be given. In addition, Eastern Standard Time Aprisha Virtuous Order. Any casual cultivator in the world who finds a cultivator can choose to recommend him to Kunlun in addition to accepting him as a disciple. After verification, Kunlun will also give a certain reward." Zhu Yingyan. The expression on her face slowly changed, and soon became unfathomable. If Junior Sisters Yu had asked a question, such as "Brother, this strategy looks so familiar. How come it is so similar to the unconventional and inspiring measures of the Wei Demon?" Then Qiu Chang's Hein would have naturally answered, it was inspired by the demon. But junior sisters use expression, without asking any questions or giving him a chance to explain, make Qiu Chang's Hein feel a little uneasy. Brother, what you said is very good. After a long while, Zhu Yingyan smiled and said, well, senior brother, this is also inspired by the Wei demon, it just so happens. Zhu Yingyan smiled, I was also inspired by the Wei demon. The word just so happens really made Qiu Chang's Hein a little nervous, so he quickly picked up another book, Yonzthong Business Strategy, and changed the subject. There are not many mining points near Chang'an, but if you continue to the west and past Tianshui, many spiritual veins will become dense. In this way, our strategic bottom line is Tianshui. The front line of the battlefield with the demon cult should be controlled as much as possible near Chang'an, and it must not be allowed to cross Tianshui. Indeed. Zhu Yingyan also cooperated with the diversion of attention and said thoughtfully, but the Tipchen mountain where the Shira road is located lies between our Kunlin and Tianshui. If the other party cuts across from this direction, our connection with the Yonzthong area will be cut off. We must be vigilant against the 6 parts of the demon cult using Tipchen mountain as a bridgehead to cut and surround our front line at a critical moment. That's right. Qiu Chang's Hein was quick-witted and said immediately, from this point of view, we must form an alliance with Shushan and let it contain Tipchen mountain from the south. The elders may not be willing. Zhu Yingyan said tactfully. When Shushan was besieged in the past, it did not ask Kunlun for help. Now Kunlun has to ask Shushan for help. The outside world will not care how many monks died or were injured in the Shushan that supported itself at the time. They will only think that Kunlun is not as good as Shushan. I will personally meet Master and explain the pros and cons. Qiu Chang's Hein said calmly. Chapter 732. The Object of Blame. Qiu Chang's Hein came to the lecture room and told the matter to the headmaster Ziwei. In short, if we want to fight the demon cult, then Tipchen mountain will be a nail. If we advance to Yonzthong, the other side only needs to use Tipchen mountain as a springboard to cut off and annihilate our vanguard at any time. The reason why the Wei demon head proposed to fight for Yonzthong is because he saw through that we can't pull out Tipchen mountain. Instead of taking this risk, it is better to cooperate with Shushan and let them advance to the northwest. With Shushan threatening that flank, even if the 6 paths want to use Tipchen mountain to attack Kunlin, the Shira path will definitely not dare to agree. Well. The headmaster Ziwei did not comment, but said lightly, Changzhen, you're right. Do you think that the elders of the sect didn't think of this before? That's why the disciple is confused. Qiu Chang's Hein said in a low voice, why not make friends with Shushan? Because Shushan doesn't need to make friends with my Kunlin. The headmaster Ziwei said leisurely, the lifelong wish of the Changmei Immortal is to restore the glory of the Emei Sword sect. In ancient times, the Emei Sword sect was the largest sect in the world. The sword controlling technique that is now popular among human cultivators originated from the Emei Sword sect. When the Emei Sword sect was at its peak, all cultivators in the world respected the sword immortal. The disciples with the best talent in cultivation all went to Emei. Now, Shushan is still the #1 sword sect, but when it comes to the world's #1, who would think of the Shushan Shanking sect? Master. Qiu Chang's Hein was a little disappointed. Emei Sword sect, why are these sects that were once at their peak gone now? Life is like an inn, and I am also a traveler. The head of Ziwei's sect was silent for a long time, but did not answer directly, but made a clever remark. Qiu Chang's Hein. The so-called inn is an inn. What Master means here is this world is just a temporary stay for me, and I will eventually return to my journey. Thinking of the intersection of the celestial sphere and the immortal's ascension, he seemed to understand something. In short, according to the head of Ziwei, there are irreconcilable contradictions between Shushan, which wants to compete for the first place, and Kunlin, which occupies the first place. Unless Kunlin is willing to give up the false title of the world's leader to Shushan, it is difficult for the two factions to form a close enough alliance. On the contrary, for the 6 parts of the demon cult and the Donghuan demon clan, everyone cooperates for pure interests, which makes it easier to form an alliance. Thinking of this, Qiu Chang's Hein also had a headache. If Tipchen mountain is located on the flank of Kunlin against the demon cult, then Shushan is located on the flank of Tipchen mountain against Kunlin. If Shushan is unwilling to help contain, Kunlun will have to beware of the backstab from Tipchen mountain at all times while fighting a tug-of-war with the demon cult in the Yonzthong area. That would be too troublesome. Well, wait a minute, Qiu Chang's Hein doesn't know when Tipchen mountain will backstab, but doesn't Wei Dongliu know? As long as Wei Dongliu figures out how Tianjin Mountain plans to backstab, Qiu Chang's Time can predict and carry out targeted offensive. Isn't it foolproof? Wait a minute, why did Tianjin Mountain want to backstab Kunlin? It was because Wei Dongliu was in charge. Qiu Chang's Time sighed and wondered why I just reacted now. It turned out that he was fighting himself. Then he could act however he wanted. After leaving the lecture room with full confidence, Qiu Chang's Time went to find Zhu Yingyan again and said, I have already talked to Master. Is Kunlun willing to seek cooperation from Shushan? Zhu Yingyan asked in surprise. No. Qiu Chang's Time said briefly. Then what should we do? Zhu Yingyan frowned. With her strategic vision, she could of course see that the dangerous location of Tianjin Mountain was the biggest hidden danger to Kunlin. Nothing to do. Qiu Chang's Time smiled and said, just deal with it as it happens. Zhu Yingyan thought that this was the only way to go, otherwise how could he wipe out Shirodo? In the past 10,000 years, if there was an opportunity to wipe out Shirodo, Kunlun Taiping sect would have taken action long ago. Qiu Chang's Time didn't say much. After thinking through the key points, he didn't take this battle between good and evil seriously. The commander on the opposite side is my future self. Can I harm myself? Don't panic at all. As for the many pre-war preparations and tactical arrangements, it doesn't matter. Since the deployment of the enemy is fully understood, this war is impossible to lose. The only tricky thing is that it can't be won, otherwise Wei Dongliu's plan to be the leader of the demon sect will be ruined. In this way, we have to fight a war that can neither win nor lose. Neither Qiu Chang's Time nor Wei Dongliu can fail, otherwise it will affect the future status of both sides and their respective sects. The above seems to be a paradox, but it is not impossible to do, because there is a saying in political struggle, called throwing the blame on political enemies. The political enemies here refer to people who belong to the same group but have serious conflicts in personal interests. For example, when Qiu Chang's Time was still in the foundation building realm, Songhe, the second brother who wanted to compete with him for the senior brother of the foundation building realm, was his political enemy in Kunlin. Since they were both from Kunlin, they couldn't fight each other, so the other party could only use shady tricks to plot against him. In other words, he only needed to find a political enemy like Songhe, and then put all the failures in the struggle with Wei Dongliu on him. The only problem was that with Qiu Chang's Time's current reputation in Kunlin, it seemed that he didn't have any political enemies. The head of Ziwei almost supported him openly and secretly, and he just announced that the next head of Kunlin would be Chan Jiangxianren. Who would dare to be Qiu Chang's Time's political enemy in this situation? Don't want to be in Kunlin? After thinking about it, Qiu Chang's Time couldn't figure it out. If there were no political enemies, with his unshakable bottom line and conscience, he couldn't do anything to blame innocent people, so the problem became unsolvable. Full of thoughts, he unknowingly came to the discipline hall on his sword. Qiu Chang's Time suddenly remembered that his second brother Songhe was still imprisoned in the depths of the discipline hall. This senior brother was really unfortunate. He originally wanted to collude with the demons to assassinate Qiu Chang Tian, but he chose to go to Wenyang. Wenyang was also a heartless person. He directly sold Wei Dongliu at favor and asked Wei Dongliu's disciple Duo Jin to go to Kunlun to sell information, saying that someone wanted to assassinate Doxin Tongmin. In this way, Songhe was sold for a good price. Colluding with the demons. Harming a fellow disciple. The final sentence of Songhe was imprisoned in prison for 200 years. During these 200 years of prison life, although he could still practice breathing, he certainly could not go to find the secret medicine of the Purple Mansion, and naturally he had no hope of getting a high-grade golden elixir. If he was lucky, he would be released on the day of the tribulation, and after passing the heavenly tribulation, he would make a medium-grade golden elixir, and then go back to serve his sentence obediently and become a real person behind bars. After serving his sentence, he would be almost useless. If he was unlucky and did not pass the heavenly tribulation, the fixed-term imprisonment would be directly changed to death penalty, and it would be over. After arriving at the discipline hall and explaining his purpose to the steward, Qiu Chang's Time knew that senior brother Song was still alive and had successfully passed the tribulation a few years ago. It was just that he passed the tribulation too hastily, and his magic weapons were not fully prepared, so he ended up hurting his essence and forming a middle-grade 5th-grade golden elixir. If he is lucky enough to achieve immortality in the future, the highest level he can reach is the level of a celestial fairy, not a golden fairy. Qiu Chang's Time suddenly had an idea and applied to visit the prison. The steward of the discipline hall naturally did not dare to offend the popular Chan Jiangxianren, so he diligently led the way for him. Passing through layers of dark mountain paths and crossing many doors engraved with runes, Kyo Chang's Hyun finally arrived in front of Songhe's prison. This second senior brother used to be dignified and self-sustaining, but now he has a head full of white hair and looks extremely vicissitudes. Seeing that the visitor was Kyo Chang Hyun, he did not show any surprise, but just said lightly, "I didn't expect that after so many years, the second person to visit me in the dungeon of the Discipline Hall was Chan Gen, whom I once assassinated." "Oh?" Kyo Chang Hyun's expression remained unchanged, and he smiled gently. "Then who was the first one?" "Don't ask first." Songhe waved his hand boredly. "If you come to laugh at me, you can start now. If not, then bring a pot of wine." Kyo Chang Hyun frowned slightly. If it was someone else, he would definitely laugh contemptuously at this time. "You once assassinated me, so what confidence do you have now to ask me to bring you wine?" But Kyo Chang Hyun was thoughtful after all, and guessed that Songhe must have something to say to him, and his reward was to bring him a pot of wine. If he refused to take the wine, he would not hear what he said later. Thinking of this, Kyo Chang Hyun slowly asked, "What kind of wine would senior brother Song want to drink?" "Ning's Wangchu from Chitafang City will do." Chapter 733 Kunlun's four major families. Chitafang City, located at the easternmost part of the Kunlun Mountains, is the entrance connecting Kunlun and Shenzhou. The Kunlun Spring, which is the favorite of junior sisters Yu, is located inside this Chitafang City. It's just that it takes at least half a day to fly back and forth by sword, so it's not very convenient. Songhe proposed to drink the frozen snow in Chitafang City, which was obviously a bit difficult. But Kyo Chang Hyun just looked at him meaningfully and smiled. "Okay." He left the Discipline Hall, but did not rush to fly east, but slowly returned to the door of Jinlan Cave. Since becoming a Taoist partner with Zhu Yinlian, the contact with other junior brothers and sisters has gradually decreased. But after all, they still live in Jinlan together, and they usually greet each other when they meet, so they are not completely unfamiliar. Arriving at the door of the cave of the fifth junior brother Chenzhin, Kyo Chang Hyun coughed to indicate that he had arrived, and then walked in with his hands behind his back. Chenzhin and his sixth junior fellow apprentices Thongti and Hua were busy packing up the wine utensils. He smiled awkwardly and said, "Is the senior brother here? Please take a seat, senior brother." "How have you been practicing recently?" Kyo Chang Hyun subconsciously asked leisurely, using the style of Wei Dongliu training his apprentices. Chenzhin and Thongti and Hua looked at each other for a moment, then both showed bitter faces. Just as they were about to talk away, Kyo Chang Hyun turned around and looked at the stone cabinet next to him, took out a bottle of wine from it, and sneered, "Nine Xuanxu from Chit Market. You have time to go to the east of Kunlun to buy wine, but no time to practice." He didn't care how the two junior brothers explained, he just scolded them, put the wine pot in his arms, and left. Back in the dungeon of the Discipline Hall, Kyo Chang Hyun handed the wine pot to Songhe and said, "There are no cups, so just drink it." Songhe hurriedly took the wine pot, gulped down a big mouthful, wiped his mouth and said, "I, Songhe, have been in Kunlun for half my life, made countless friends, and ended up in prison, but only two people came to visit me." "Kyo Chang Hyun, you were not here to laugh at me, then why did you come?" "Just to visit an old friend," Kyo Chang Hyun said with his hands behind his back. In fact, it was because he thought of the political enemy that he thought of Songhe, the second senior brother, and came to chat with him. "Heh." Songhe sneered, "Since you said so, I have to believe it. After all, I really can't think of anything on me that is worth your plot. Before you, another person who came to visit me in the dungeon was Yoon Hong's Hinran, who ranked second in the Jinnan realm." "Yoon Hong's Hinran?" Kyo Chang Hyun was slightly startled. Then he slowly remembered that the brother's common name was Zhao Jinghong, and he was now ranked second in the Jinnan realm, second only to the eldest sister Luo Baiyuan. But his ability to deal with people was much stronger than Luo Baiyuan. Most of the Jinnan real people were on good terms with him, and he was not inferior to Luo Baiyuan in terms of prestige and qualifications. "What did Brother Yanhong come to see Brother Song for?" Kyo Chang Hyun asked seriously. "What do you think it was for?" Songhe said slowly, "When do you expect to win to the Jinnan realm of the subtle level?" Kyo Chang Hyun remained silent. Although many people in Kunlun knew that he had cultivated to the great perfection of the Zhongyan level, Songhe, who was a prisoner, should not be included in it anyway. Considering that only two people had visited him, the source of Songhe's information was obvious. "Master Chan Gen," Songhe continued, "this is how the world is. You think you are walking your own path, but in fact you may have blocked someone's way. If you want to be the headmaster of Kunlun, you must first become the chief of the Jindan realm. This position is currently held by Master Han Yuan, but she is too simple-minded and is not the right choice for the headmaster. This is well known. Qiu Changtian was silent for a long time and asked, "Brother Yu Hong, are you interested in taking over the position of the next headmaster?" Ha ha ha, Song He laughed jokingly. The Guan Zhao family has been planning for almost 1,000 years to fight for Zhao Jinghong to succeed the Kunlun headmaster position. At the time, Master Chan Zhen, you had not yet entered the Kunlun mountain gate. Although there are no clear rules, in the past 10,000 years, the headmaster of Kunlun has basically been taken turns by people from the Zhu, Luo, Zhao, and Jie families. After Master Ziya, it should have been the turn of their Zhao family. Master Chan Zhen, Song is just a nobody, but the Zhao family of Guan is a behemoth comparable to the Jie family of Taiyuan. If you think you can rest easy with the protection of the headmaster, I'm afraid there will be trouble in the future. Qiu Changtian wanted to ask more, but Song He had already picked up the wine pot and silently turned to the depths of the cell, obviously unwilling to say anything more. Thinking about leaving the dungeon of the discipline hall, Qiu Changtian suddenly felt a little melancholy. TSK, if I say now that I have no intention of becoming the headmaster of Kunlun, can I ask the Zhao family of Guan not to trouble me? I'm afraid it's unlikely. Many times, the reason why people trouble you is not because you want to fight against him, but simply because you have the ability to fight against him. However, Zhao Jinghong seems to be more cunning than Song He. So far, except for showing some clues on Song He's side, he has not shown any hostility to me in other places. Without verifying the truth of what Song He said, I can't go to Zhao Jinghong for trouble. It would be great if he could take the initiative to trouble me. Thinking of this, Qiu Changtian returned to the Jinlan Cave mansion and saw Zhu Yingyan sitting in front of the stone table angrily. "Junior sister?" Qiu Changtian asked curiously, "Who made you unhappy?" Master said. Zhu Yingyan said in a muffled voice, "In order to facilitate your overall management, 2 more deputies will be assigned to you to assist in the work. The nascent soul realm is under the charge of Elder Geas. If there are any nascent soul cultivators to be sent in the future, you can discuss with him. The Jindan realm true person will be in charge of true person Yan Hong. If there are any orders for the Jindan true person to execute, go and discuss with true person Yan Hong." Qiu Changtian laughed immediately. "Good guy, I haven't been the main person for long, and I have been assigned 2 deputies, and their prestige and qualifications are higher than mine. Are they trying to undermine me?" In the past, he might not understand why, but was just unhappy. But after Song He's reminder in the dungeon of the discipline hall, Qiu Changtian already understood that it was probably the political factions within Kunlun that began to exert their strength. Luo, Zhao, Zhu, and Jie, the 4 major families at Kunlun. Qiu Changtian is probably from the Zhu family, while Ziwi's sect leader is the authoritative representative of the Jie family. These 2 are closely united through the master-disciple relationship, and the remaining 2 families will naturally react. Elder Geas is Luo Baiyuan's second grandfather, and Master Yan Hong is the candidate for sect leader that the Zhao family has focused on training. Sending these 2 people to serve as Qiu Changtian's assistants is too obvious to mean power sharing. I think Ziwi's sect leader was probably forced to compromise and had no choice. But, it's a coincidence. Brother Yan Hong, you brought it to me this time, I'm sorry. Chapter 734. Indecisive Qiu Changtian. Most people imagine war as first issuing a declaration of war, then mobilizing troops on a large scale, then encountering the enemy on the front line, and finally killing and blood flowing. The actual war among monks. Killing and blood flowing. There was no declaration of war, nor was there a large-scale mobilization of troops. Nearly 100 demon sect masters quickly infiltrated Gyeongthong from the Helluo area, and raided 24 Kunlun mines in a row within a few days. In the main hall at Kunlun, many high-level officials had gathered together, and Qiu Changtian also quickly proposed a response plan. The first was to send several elders to the Gyeongthong area to guard and be ready to deal with the demon sect's raid at any time. The second was to improve the defense of the mines. Each mine must be guarded by a master, and every 10 mines will have a team of masters to provide support to build a sufficiently strong dynamic defense line. Although this strategy is good, is it too conservative? Yun Hong raised an objection. The depth of the Gyeongthong area is more than 1,000 miles. Even if we send 100 or 1,000 times more people to build a defense line, it is still impossible to completely prevent the infiltration of the demon cult. It is better to draw out capable forces and launch a surprise attack on the headquarters of the Inghost sect in Bayman Mountain. As long as the demon cult goes to rescue, we can push the front line to the Hello area, and the initiative is in our hands. To be fair, Yun Hong's strategy is indeed good, and it is more proactive and flexible than the strategy formulated by Qiu Changtian. However, the more proactive the strategy is, the greater the loss will be after being targeted by others. On the contrary, Qiu Changtian's building a strong camp and fighting a stupid battle conspiracy is difficult to target even if the demon cult knows about it. Brother Yun Hong's plan is very good. Qiu Changtian smiled slightly. However, Bayman Mountain is the home of the invaluable, and it is known to the world. The demon would not expect that we will use decapitation tactics. If they set an ambush in Bayman Mountain, the surprise attack force will suffer heavy losses. As the coordinator of this operation, I can't sit idly by and watch the cunning cultivators step into danger. Brother Chang'en's words make sense, but haven't you heard of make the empty real and make the real empty? Truman Yun Hong disagreed, just turned his head to look at Elder Geas, and continued, looking at the conflicts between Kunlun and the demon cult over the years, they have been mainly passive defense, which has left the demon with the impression of being conservative and rigid. Precisely because of this, the invader would certainly not have thought that we would adopt such a radical strategy this time. In my opinion, it is better to do two things at the same time. On the one hand, implement Chang'en's strategy and strengthen defense in the Yunzhong area to prevent the loss of mines. At the same time, it can also confuse the demon cult and make them think that we still intend to take a defensive stance. On the other hand, we should select capable forces from among the elders and real people to launch a surprise attack on Bayman Mountain and force the demon cult to come back for rescue. If this plan succeeds, not only will the crisis in Yunzhong be resolved immediately, but it will also cause containment and damage to the frontline forces of the demon cult. Master Yun Hong is right. Elder Geas nodded and said in a pretentious manner, Master Chang'en, as a general, you must make decisions when necessary and not be indecisive. Who are you scolding, you bastard? Qiu Changtian was secretly angry. Elder Geas publicly supported Master Yun Hong's proposal, and this four-character comment of indecisiveness was undoubtedly a major blow to Qiu Changtian's prestige when he was coordinating the war for the first time. The key point is that this Yuning elder is not someone Qiu Changtian can refute directly, regardless of his seniority or qualifications. Even if the other party said I think Kunlun should surrender, Qiu Changtian could only say ha, the elder is really humorous, and he must not directly deny or belittle the other party, otherwise he would inevitably give the other Yuning elders a bad impression of the young generation is too sharp and arrogant. So Qiu Changtian smiled and explained tactfully, it's not that I am indecisive, but Chang'en is in charge of the war. If he is not careful, his fellow disciples will fall. Therefore, he can only be trembling and treading on thin ice, fearing that he will make mistakes. Chang'en is really kind. Another Yuning elder stepped out and smiled kindly, but kindness cannot lead the army. If you were afraid of this and that, how can you defeat the demon sect? Qiu Changtian kept smiling, and he had 1,000 curses in his heart. Looking at the head of Ziwei, the master also had a cold expression, realizing that these elders who jumped out to criticize represented that the Luo family and the Zhao family had joined forces. But these people seemed to be talking about the matter at hand, and there was nothing to blame. Even if he went to the Immortal to tell tales, with the character of Kisun Immortal, he would not speak out for such a dispute of opinion. Soon, the elders present expressed their opinions. The elders of the Luo family and the Zhao family believed that the strategy of Chang'en's Henren was too conservative and could not play the role of deterring the demon cult. The elders of the Zhu family and the Ji family defended Chang'en's Henren, believing that military affairs were very dangerous and it was not wrong to be cautious. As for the most numerous neutral elders, most of them stood on Zhao Jinghong's side. The reason was that if Zhao Jinghong's strategy could succeed, the strategic advantage it brought to Kunlun was obvious. As for Qiu Changtian's strategy, it could only be said to be mediocre and could not bring about fundamental changes to the situation. In the final analysis, everyone was still immersed in the glory of our Kunlun is the world's #1 sect, so they were unwilling to let the demon cult jump for too long, and most of them hoped to win quickly. Thinking of this, Qiu Changtian sighed. Alas, I have to let Kunlun down, but Wei Donliu really can't lose this time. He still kept smiling, without any annoyance, and just said to Ziwei sect master, in this case, we will follow the advice of the elders and adopt a two-pronged strategy. Okay. Ziwei sect master nodded. So Kunlun began to mobilize manpower. At the same time, a rumor that Chang'en's Henren was criticized by the elders for being too indecisive began to spread inside Kunlun. There were many Yuning elders in the main hall of Kunlun that day. Although they would definitely not betray Kunlun and leak the final plan with their current status, it is not impossible for them to mention the sharp comments of Giselda to their juniors after returning. Therefore, although he knew that it must be the work of the Zhao family, Qiu Changtian had no way to deal with it. After all, Giselda did say so. It's really outrageous. Qiu Changtian was not angry, he even felt guilty because of what was about to happen to him, but Zhu Yingyan was furious. She rushed to find Dela Zhu, who was in charge of the suitor library, and questioned him. They are taking advantage of the situation to slander our senior brother. Are we just going to watch? This is public opinion. Elder Zhu comforted her, but as long as the war goes smoothly, a little slander will break down on its own. The so-called public opinion refers to the discussion of most people. Although the Tian and Zhu family is strong in Kunlun, it is impossible to shut up all the Kunlun cultivators and prevent anyone from criticizing Qiu Changtian. After all, this world has neither an online court nor a small essay that reverses black and white. It is impossible to use a team of dozens of people to create a scene of thousands of troops washing the ground. The only advantage is that everyone forgets quickly. As long as Qiu Changtian is still the commander-in-chief and the war goes smoothly, the credit will still fall on him in the end. The evaluation of indecisiveness is just some jumping clowns making shocking remarks, which will not last long. Zhu Yingyan knew this, of course, but she was really angry at the sarcastic remarks of some monks, so she returned to Jinlang in a sullen mood. Qiu Changtian even comforted his wife and told her not to bother with those people, which made Zhu Yingyan angry and amused. Sorry, the publishing time was set wrong. Chapter 735. The counterattack of the Tian and Zhu family. Yun Hongzhenren looks like a mature man in his 30s. Although he usually speaks in a gentle and friendly manner, his gestures often have a persuasive and tough style. In addition, with the deep background of the Guanzhou family behind him, many Kunlun are naturally willing to make friends with him, or help him do what they can in exchange for the friendship of this big shot. When their senior brother Zhao was in Kunlun Yangwang, Qiu Changtian had not yet worshipped Kunlun Mountain. Therefore, to a certain extent, this Zhao Jinghong is a super-enhanced version of Songhe. After all, Songhe has neither the connections that have been operating in Kunlun for hundreds of years, nor a powerful Immortal Cultivation family to support him. Against Songhe, Qiu Changtian doesn't even need to take action. As long as he puts the evidence against him in front of Ziwi's sect leader, Songhe will die directly. But against Zhao Jinghong, first of all, he will definitely not be able to get the evidence against him. With the identity of Yun Hongzhenren, if he really wants to embarrass someone, he doesn't even need to do it himself, someone will naturally do it for him. Even if he fails, what harm can he suffer? It's all a subordinate presumptuous decision. Because of this, Qiu Changtian couldn't fight back personally, so he could only instruct his junior sisters Yu Yingyan to let the Tian and Zhu family come to deal with the situation. Yuning cultivators have a long lifespan, and a headmaster often stays in the position for a long time, and during his tenure, he will also provide huge benefits to the family behind him. The current Ziwi headmaster is from the Ji family, the previous Kunlun headmaster is from the Luo family, and the previous one is from the Zhu family. The Guanzhou family is determined to get the position of the next headmaster, but the Tian and Zhu family has been vacant for 2 generations in a row, and the blessings brought by the previous have been exhausted. How can they be willing to give up the position? After all, who stipulated that the position of the Kunlun headmaster must be taken in turn by the 4 major families? Therefore, the Tian and Zhu family quickly made a sharp counterattack and notified it privately. All cultivators in the Zhu family camp should give priority to the implementation of Chan Zhengzhenren's Gyeonthong defense strategy. The so-called priority execution actually means no time to participate in Yun Hong's surprise attack plan, which is to express the rejection of the Zhao family. The Guanzhou family also responded quickly, and almost tit-for-tat internal notifications were issued. All the cultivators in the Zhao family camp uniformly followed Yun Hong's dispatch arrangements, not Chan Zheng's. The Gyeonthong defense strategy requires a large number of people, while the surprise attack on Beimang only requires elites, that is, the higher the cultivation realm and fighting strength, the better. Because the Zhu family expressed an uncooperative attitude, there were a lot of vacancies in the original surprise attack team list, and high-level cultivators were a minority after all. The Zhao family allocated more high-level cultivators than originally planned, but it was not enough to fill the original vacancies, so they had to lobby the Luo family for help and more manpower. As for Qiu Chang's defense strategy, because it did not require high cultivators, it only allowed the Tian and Zhu family to have more than 100 cultivators, and easily made up for the absence of Zhao family cultivators, and did not even ask the Jie family for help. The Zhao family in Yuan suffered a setback and launched a corresponding second counterattack. They found the Immortal Cultivation and accused the Zhu family of such despicable internal fighting. The Immortal Cultivation was also overwhelmed. After all, the Zhu family did not say not to support Master Yang Hong, but just said give priority to cooperating with Master Chang'an. What can he do? This is a sect of cultivation, not a secular court. Moreover, the Immortal Cultivation is not the ancestor of the demon cult, so it is impossible for him to suppress the people below and say no. You are not allowed to give priority to cooperating with Master Chang'an's plan. Isn't that clearly taking sides? After all, this immortal has lived for a long time, and of course he will not be stumped by such internal fighting. He immediately asked the people of the Zhao family to go back, and then called the head of Ziwei to throw the mess to him to solve. The head of Ziwei was from the Jie family, so he naturally had something to say about this. Yan Hong's surprise attack plan is too risky. If the demon cult knew about it in advance, there would be no advantage at all. Are all the people in the hall at day hours? Asked the Immortal Cultivation leisurely. Yes. Ziwei's sect master replied, all the elders of Kunlun who attended the meeting are the backbone of the sect. The only real people are Chang'an and Yunhong. The backbone of the sect means that their personal interests are highly tied to Kunlun and they will never betray. Cultivation Immortal also felt relieved and waved his hand and said, in this case, Yunhong wants to try a trick, let him try it. Actually, this is good. If they win, the credit for this battle will go to the Zhao family. If they lose, the losses are mainly incurred by the Zhao family anyway, and the Zhu family will not make trouble and come to me to make a fuss. This, Kunlun sect master frowned. If the immortal does not make it clear, then even if the surprise attack is successful, part of the credit will fall on Qiu Chang's iron. After all, this plan was kept secret from most Kunlun cultivators beforehand. Everyone only knew that Chang'an was the real person who coordinated the war, so the reputation of the final victory naturally belonged to him. But Cultivation Immortal said this, which meant that they still had to make a clear distinction. The Zhao family's credit belongs to the Zhao family, and the Zhu family's credit belongs to the Zhu family. If the surprise attack on Beiman Mountain is successful, it will be a great achievement. As for Qiu Chang's Heinskion's Thong defensive plan, what kind of achievement can it have? Even if every mine is well defended, everyone will think it is the right thing to do. On the contrary, if it fails to defend, it will become a huge fault. If it is really so clear, it will definitely be disadvantageous to Qiu Chang's iron. Thinking of this, Ziwei's sect master even had some dark thoughts for a while. If the surprise attack on Beiman Mountain encounters a major failure, will it make Chang'an appear mature and foresighted? But he is the sect master of Kunlun after all, and his mind is open-minded. He quickly put such thoughts behind him. Apart from anything else, even if Yunhong finally snatched Chang'an's position as sect master, he would not choose to damage the interests of Kunlun sect in order to stop this. Since Chang'an thinks Yunhong's strategy is too radical, let the facts speak for themselves. If Chang'an's prediction is wrong, I naturally have nothing to say. Of course, if Chang'an is proven to be right in the end, I will have to come to the Immortal to have a good talk with him. What's the matter with the Zhu family and the Zhao family? They shouldn't make the sect so chaotic just to fight for power and profit. Thinking of this, Master Ziwei didn't say much, but just said goodbye and left neatly. So only the Cultivation Immortal was left in front of the Tianmen Hall. He sat alone under the dead pine, facing the stone chessboard in front of him, holding black in his left hand and white in his right hand, and played chess happily. One is radical, the other is conservative. Hey, these two people are interesting. But how can the position of the Kunlun master be determined by the outcome of a battle? In my opinion, the person who is not discouraged by defeat is more suitable to lead the sect than the one who is arrogant after victory. Let's continue to observe carefully and see what the temperaments of these two people are like, so as to draw conclusions later. Chapter 736a. Man's conscience and bottom line. Qiu Chang's Iron suddenly found that more and more people started to say bad things about him. The reason was that a Kunlun Immortal was visiting the cave of his 7th junior sister Jiankingnan, and casually said that Chang'an Immortal was too soft on the demon cult. As a result, Jiankingnan turned hostile and sent him away on the spot. After Qiu Changtai knew about it, he investigated the other party's background and found that he was not a cultivator from the Zhao family or the Luo family, and of course not from the Zhu family or the Ji family, but from a third-party neutral faction. Obviously, someone has begun to spread rumors among the neutral cultivators to destroy Qiu Changtai's reputation in Kunlin. There are probably 1,000 ideas about how to fight the demon cult for 1,000 Kunlin cultivators. It is impossible for decision-makers to satisfy everyone, but it is too outrageous to slander if they are not satisfied. It must be Zhao Jinghong who is playing tricks. Qiu Changtai went to find Zhu Yingyan and asked about the recent arrangements of the Zhu family. Your plan shouldn't go wrong. Zhu Yingyan replied, the clan will send some people, and the master will also help coordinate. I'm not asking that. Qiu Changtai sighed, no one is going to the surprise attack, right? It doesn't matter if others die, but the people in my wife's family and the master's family cannot die because of this. This is a man's conscience and bottom line. No. Zhu Yingyan shook his head and asked curiously, brother, do you really not like the surprise attack plan? Qiu Changtai was silent for a moment and said, if such a simple surprise attack plan can succeed, it proves that Wei Donliu is just a waste. Is Wei Donliu a waste? Even with the support of the Blood-Sea ancestor, not everyone can reunite the scattered mortal duo in their hands and be on par with the Ghost duo and the Heavenly Demon duo. In other words, according to Qiu Changtai's prediction, this surprise attack plan is likely to be guessed by the other party in advance. Why? Zhu Yingyan didn't think too much, because it was just an analysis after all, just like when Guo Jie said that Cao had 10 wins and Yuan Shao had 10 losses, Cao would not ask why there were 10 wins and 10 losses. She just thought for a long time and said awkwardly, if the Zhao family monks were killed in Beimen Mountain, it would be a disaster for us rather than a blessing. Qiu Changtai sighed. How could he not understand Zhu Yingyan's statement? If all the elite monks of the Zhao family camp were killed in Beimen Mountain, it would definitely greatly weaken the strength and prestige of Kunlin. Similarly, for that Kunlin monks who didn't know the truth, Qiu Changtai was the commander-in-chief of the war. This large group of people were killed in Beimen Mountain. Most of the Kunlin monks didn't know about the internal struggle among the top leaders, and they must blame Qiu Changtai. Yes. Qiu Changtai smiled bitterly, even so, if I tell them not to go, will they listen? They definitely won't listen. The Zhao family of Guan has already issued an order, give priority to the dispatch of Master Yang Hong. What else can Qiu Changtai do? Probably he can only hope that everyone is fine. He and Zhu Yingyan went to the main hall to make the final deployment before the war. Including Zhao Jinghong, many elders gathered again and began to finalize some of the remaining complicated matters. After the decision was made and a consensus was reached, everyone left the main hall one after another. Zhao Jinghong walked at the end, and when most of the elders had left, he suddenly turned around and said to Qiu Changtai, in fact, I think there is nothing wrong with your strategy, Changzheng. The demon cult is like a centipede, which is dead but not stiff. As long as it cannot be eradicated, no matter how many of them are killed, more will emerge in a few years, which is completely not worth the loss. Qiu Changtai was a little surprised. This guy actually knows everything. For example, if the cultivation resources of a Kunlin cultivator can be used to cultivate 10 demon cultivators. But a Kunlin monk may only be able to fight 3 to 5 demon monks to death on the front battlefield. The result is that the more Kunlin wins, the more scarce its internal manpower will be, while the 6 parts of the demon sect on the opposite side will pack their butts and make up for the lost manpower in a blink of an eye. Otherwise, why has Kunlin Tai King sect basically been defensive for thousands of years and rarely actively attacked the demon sect? If that's the case, why do you want to propose such a radical strategy? Qiu Changtai asked with a smile. Because Kunlin needs change. Zhao Jinghong replied, after so many years of defense, everyone has been exhausted. Because of this? Zhu Yingyan frowned and said with disgust, you cater to everyone's preferences and take risky strategies. If all kinds of bad consequences occur, they will all be reported on your head. Well said. Qiu Changtai was refreshed. Zhao Jinghong chose a radical strategy, and everyone supported and followed him to take risks. As a result, he was unfortunately ambushed and died. Whose problem is it? Of course it's Zhao Jinghong's problem. You see, all the Kunlin monks who listened to my advice didn't have any problems, right? Ha ha. Zhao Jinghong just smiled, risky strategies may not be risky, and safe strategies may not be safe. The people of Kunlin want change, and I bring them change. Is there anything wrong with that? Chang Zhen, you saw what Kunlun Tai King sect needed, but you didn't see what Kunlun monks needed. You considered the overall situation but ignored the people's hearts. This is why you were forced to this extent by me, even though you obviously have the support of the headmaster. After saying that, he jumped on the sword and turned into light and left. Zhu Yinglong looked ugly, and turned back and said, "Brother, although it's not right to say this, if the surprise attack can achieve a big victory, I really can't imagine what kind of despicable face this person will have after returning. I don't care." Qiu Changtai smiled freely, as long as Kunlun can win. Zhu Yinglong didn't say anything, thinking to himself that if Master Yang Hong won, you, brother, would be broad-minded and not care, but I would be speechless. No, is brother really that generous? Songhe, who had opposed senior brother before, is still in prison now. Thinking of this, Zhu Yinglong suddenly came to his senses. Senior brother had long been certain that Zhao Jinghong would fail, so he didn't take him seriously at all. Hectares, Zhao Jinghong thought he had a plan, but he didn't expect that he had been seen through by my senior brother. So Zhu Yinglong became confident again. Qiu Changtai watched junior sister's expression from the side, from disgust and resentment to thoughtfulness, and then to calmness and composure. He didn't know what kind of mental journey she had gone through, but he was secretly surprised. There is no need to talk about the follow-up. Since the two people's strategic propositions have parted ways, and the Zhu family and the Zhao family are openly opposed, they can only do their own things. Zhao Jinghong organized a team and prepared to launch a surprise attack on Beimang Mountain. Qiu Changtai concentrated on arranging the defense of Gyeongthong and dispatching various personnel and materials. The two seemed to have nothing to do with each other, but in fact they were more concerned about the situation on the other side than anyone else, of course, the kind of concern that they hoped the other side would fail immediately. The more Qiu Changtai looked at Zhao Jinghong's plan, the more he felt that there were loopholes everywhere. He didn't really think that such a crude plan would work, did he? No way, no way. Jin, read the save file of Wei Dongliu. Chapter 737. Wei Dongliu starts the battle. Wei Dongliu felt something was wrong. Why was he being pressed down by Jing the Witch when he just loaded the game? Well, wait, it seems like, what's wrong? Jing Lin lifted his chin and said frivolously, "My husband, have you given up struggling? I want to declare war on Kunlun." Wei Dongliu said coldly. Jing Lin. Before she could react, Wei Dongliu had already flicked her off his body. Now is the best time to declare war on Kunlun. Wei Dongliu shouted, "Let's use the Gyeongthong area as a bet. When Kunlun sends troops to Gyeongthong, I will use Tipchin Mountain as a springboard to cut off the retreat of its front army. I think my husband is not clear-headed." Jing Lin was about to curse, but then he thought that although this plan was short, it seemed a bit fun and interesting. Tipchin Mountain is adjacent to the two major orthodox religions of Kunlun and Shushan, and has been under the pressure of war for many years, so the foreign monks who can fight are all very brave. It is not impossible for Kunlun to uproot Tipchin Mountain, but it will inevitably cost a heavy price. On the other hand, as long as Tipchin Mountain is still there, Kunlun will not be able to support Gyeongthong with confidence, but, my husband is probably confused. She laughed and ridiculed, between Watai Mountain and Gyeongthong, there is Beimang Mountain. My husband wants to seize Gyeongthong, will the Ingadeo be willing to make concessions? Who said I want to seize Gyeongthong? Wei Dongliu rolled his eyes at her, then give Gyeongthong to the Ingadeo in exchange for their troops. Jing Li felt that her husband's mind was becoming more and more unrestrained, making people, and the demons unpredictable. If Gyeongthong is given to the Ingadeo, what benefits will we get? Ask the Ingadeo to make conditions and give us benefits. Wei Dongliu said domineeringly. If the Ingadeo knew about this plan, Jing Li insisted, laughing, they would go and declare war on Kunlun. Why would they care about us? No, Wei Dongliu sneered. Why? The Ingadeo alone cannot defeat Kunlun. Wei Dongliu waved his hand. We must gather the strength of the 6 paths of Jirijiao to have the possibility of defeating Kunlun Tai King sect. In short, this time the Ingadeo should take the lead and make the greatest effort to fight Kunlun for Gyeongthong. We will cooperate with Jian Modao to send troops and let the Ingadeo share the benefits. The 3 paths will unite and then involve Shiradao and Donghuangdo, and great things will be accomplished. After saying that, he left the bedroom without looking back and flew towards the peak of Thongtai Peak. Jing Lin. Wait, did you forget something? She finally reacted, and the duck at her mouth flew away. Getting up from the bed angrily, Jing Lin also rode the black mist and flew towards Thongtai Peak. On the top of Thongtai Peak, in the snow, the withered Bloodsea ancestor stroked his beard and pondered after listening to Adonliu's proposal. "This plan is good," he said slowly, "but if it works, the one who benefits the most is not our mortal Dodo, but the ghost Dodo." What the ancestor said is very true. Adonliu said calmly, "If the mortal Dodo benefits the most this time, will the ghost Dodo be willing to cooperate with us?" The Bloodsea ancestor laughed hoarsely. "You're right. Since the ghost Dodo benefits the most this time, it is just right to ask the Whitebone Venerable to spit out some benefits, otherwise we mortal Dodo will not cooperate with him. Let's go, the ancestor will accompany you on this trip." After saying that, a thick and smelly blood cloud rose from his body, carrying the Bloodsea ancestor and Adonliu, and flew towards the Bayman Mountain. Jianglian came from behind, but missed, and stamped his feet in anger, and could only follow that blood cloud and chase. When they arrived at Bayman Mountain, a patrolling Yingido monk came over and led everyone to the Yingido station. Soon, Venerable Whitebone brought Wen Yang out to greet them. They looked like a grandfather and granddaughter. Could it be that Wen Yang was actually Venerable Whitebone's illegitimate great-great-great-granddaughter? Adonliu was thinking this way, and the Bloodsea ancestor had already started to talk to Venerable Whitebone. "Attack Cunning?" Venerable Whitebone said in surprise. "Why do you say that?" "Whitebones." The Bloodsea ancestor laughed. "Are you afraid? We are old acquaintances, why do you still need to provoke me?" Venerable Whitebone sneered and said, "There is no problem with attacking Kunlun, the question is what good will it do for us?" "How about the Gyeonsthong area?" the Bloodsea ancestor asked. "Kunlun will not give up Gyeonsthong." Venerable Whitebone shook his head, as if to say you know shit. Before the Bloodsea Patriarch attacked, Wen Yang said, "Master, why don't you listen to Sect Master Wei's thoughts before making a judgment?" "Well, I can't explain it clearly to this old man Bloodsea." Venerable Whitebone sneered, then looked at Wei Donliu and said, "For Wen Yang's sake, I'll give you a quarter of an hour, go ahead." This Wen Yang seems to be very valued by the immortals. Wei Donliu suppressed his thoughts and said, "Kunlun will indeed not give up Gyeonsthong, and we don't have to occupy the Gyeonsthong area for hundreds of generations. As long as we can temporarily gain control of some resources, we can carry out destructive mining and gain a lot of benefits in a short period of time. Even if it is taken back by Kunlun later, it can be accepted. Of course, these benefits are secondary. The key is to break the myth of Kunlun's invincibility and let the world know that Kunlun is not to be feared. This is the goal that must be achieved in this battle. Regarding the point that Kunlun is not to be feared, if your excellency still has doubts, you can announce to the sect that you are going to attack Kunlun and see how many elders will oppose without thinking before even hearing the specific plan." Humph. The Venerable Whitebone still didn't believe it, so he called the three Yingido elders and said, "I plan to besiege Kunlun, what do you think?" The three elders looked at each other, exchanged glances for a moment, and then someone bit the bullet and said, "Your Excellency, why do you suddenly want to attack Kunlun?" "It's a bit too hasty." Venerable Whitebone was a little embarrassed to be predicted by Wei Dongliu, and said angrily, "I haven't told you the specific plan yet, and you are starting to shirk and prevaricate. Do you want to rebel?" "Dare not, dare not." The elder denied hurriedly, "Dare to ask your excellency to show us the battle plan." Listen carefully. Venerable Whitebone was about to scold again, but suddenly realized that he didn't have any battle plan, and immediately put on an air of immortality and said, "Master Wei, explain this to these useless elders of our sect." Sure enough, this immortal was equally skilled at passing the buck, regardless of good or evil. Wei Dongliu was also sweating in his heart, and said calmly, "In the name of the Bloodsea Patriarch, on behalf of the Six Paths, we declare war on Kunlun and openly compete for the Gyeonsthong area. If Kunlun accepts the challenge, it will definitely send people to defend Gyeonsthong. We will use Tipchen Mountain as a springboard to threaten Kunlun's flank, cut off its connection with the frontline monks, and then completely take over the Gyeonsthong area. If Shirudado is unwilling to use Tipchen Mountain as a springboard, what should we do?" An elder of the Yingido questioned. "If the three paths of mortal life, heavenly demons, and Yingi unite, how can Shirudado be unwilling?" Wei Dongliu said domineeringly, "If the three paths win, Shirudado can still get a share. If the three paths lose, Kunlun will not let Shirudado go just because it has not participated in it. As long as Shirudado still wants to keep the name of the Six Paths, it must cooperate in the battle." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 738. Convincing the two parties to reach a cooperation. What if Shushan cooperates in the attack and Shurudalo can't protect itself? Impossible. Why? Shushan and Kunlun have been fighting for many years. The last time Shushan was besieged by the Six Paths and suffered the most casualties, it did not ask Kunlun for help. This time Kunlun is in trouble. Even if Shushan is willing to help, Kunlun will certainly not accept it. What if Penglai comes to help from the East China Sea? Penglai is weak and powerless. Even if it really comes to help, Watai Mountain will stop it outside the pass, so Beiman Mountain doesn't have to worry about it. What if Tian Modalo is unwilling to send troops? Absolutely impossible. Why? Yingyi and Fanshin are cooperating to besiege Kunlun. If Tian Modalo does not take action, I'm afraid that outsiders will think that Tian Modalo is afraid of Kunlun. What if Tian Modalo is not afraid of rumors and only wants benefits? Then please let Yingyi propose a price. Why? If we win this battle, Qinlan Mountains, Longshan Mountains, and the mountains and rivers outside the Great Wall will all belong to the Yingyi. You will benefit the most, so naturally you have to propose a price to win the hearts of your allies. When Jianglin arrived, he saw 3 Yingyi elders surrounding Wei Dongliu, raising all kinds of doubts, which were then cleverly resolved by Wei Dongliu. A person who can play 5 trumpets at the same time and move between 5 forces with ease, naturally, his tongue cannot be bad. The 3 Yingyi elders tried every means to find fault, and they took turns to refute him, so that the Bloodsea ancestor next to them was very proud. The white-bone venerable had an ugly face, and when Yang wanted to laugh but barely held it back. Jianglin did not show up either, but just used the heavenly demon great method, hiding in the void to watch her husband's performance, with glittering eyes. In short, this time Kunlun has 10 defeats, and I, Jie Zhao, have 10 wins. Wei Dongliu spoke smoothly and even mentioned 10 wins and 10 losses, then suddenly realized that this 10 wins and 10 losses was not so easy to make up, and immediately changed the subject. If the Yingyi is still unwilling to confront Kunlun head-on, then we, the mortal duo, will leave immediately and not waste our breath here. Humph. Venerable Baigyi said proudly, how the Yingyi acts is not the turn of the mortal duo to comment. When Yang, show him out. The Bloodsea Patriarch took Wei Dongliu away, and said on the way, don't look at that old thing Baigyi who is still putting on airs. In fact, he has been convinced by you, but doesn't want to show it in front of his men. After we leave, the Yingyi will pretend to hold a high-level meeting and the matter will be settled. Grandmaster is wise. Wei Dongliu is certainly not stupid enough to agree, but just complimented. Next we are going to the Heavenly Demon Road. The Bloodsea Patriarch continued, the Free Patriarch has a perverse temperament and it is very difficult to communicate with her, but fortunately, for some reason, she values your wife very much. With this relationship, the possibility of persuading her is much higher. Jiangli listened secretly in the back, thinking, yes. How could I forget this? I have to ask them to make things difficult for their husbands. The two came all the way to Japan Mountain in the East China Sea, and saw that this island was planted with many exotic flowers and plants, and there were fragrant birds and fragrant beasts wandering around, and countless beautiful women bathing, picking flowers, and playing in it, as if it were fairyland on earth. It's a pity that these beauties are all murderers who kill without blinking an eye and can capture mortals as sacrifices for the heavenly demon. After knowing this, Wei Dongliu no longer had any interest in the charming gestures they showed. When he came to the palace on the top of the mountain, Wei Dongliu looked around calmly, and felt that the residence of the Free Patriarch was really luxurious, with gold, jade and pearls everywhere. The ancestor of freedom came out in a gorgeous palace dress. Those who knew her thought she was an immortal, and those who didn't thought she was a concubine from the palace who came out for a stroll. The ancestor of the Bloodsea also had a headache. This woman was always so unreliable, and she didn't have the dignity of an immortal at all. In the eyes of this junior, as long as he thought are all the immortals of Jirija like this, even my reputation would be ruined. He didn't plan to stay here for long, and quickly told the ancestor of freedom about the matter. Go to war with Kunlun? Sure. The ancestor of freedom agreed lightly, but Wei Dongliu, what's going on between you and my precious disciple? A few days ago, she ran back to Japan Mountain to cry and complain, saying that you ignored her after marriage. Is this true? Jiangli gritted his teeth when he heard it in the dark, thinking to himself, I want you to question him, not to exaggerate and make me sound like a resentful woman. The ancestor of the Bloodsea looked strange, thinking to himself, I really don't want to stay here for a second. As an immortal, is it appropriate for you to question the marriage affairs of your juniors? Wei Dongliu was also confused, and said after a while, I really don't know. That day I was going to the Golden Palace secret realm, so I didn't bring my wife with me, but I didn't deliberately ignore her. I see. Patriarch Zizahir said slowly, however, although it is a good thing for a man to make achievements outside, he cannot ignore his wife at home. You should know this as the leader of the sect. If she is really wrong, I, the Patriarch Zizahir, will support her. When the time comes, you'll have a hard time with me. What the hell is going on? Seeing that the woman was getting more and more outrageous, the Bloodsea Patriarch interrupted with a fake smile. Since the deal is done, I will go back first. He hurriedly pulled Wei Dongliu away, fearing that Patriarch Zizahir would continue to talk nonsense and further damage the dignity of the Jirizhou immortals. As soon as the two of them left, Jianglin appeared from the void and said angrily, What crazy things are you saying? And support, I need you to support me. It makes me sound like a weak woman who can't handle my husband. Sister. Patriarch Zizahir defended, I want to play the role of an immortal. If I don't talk to him like an immortal, they will find out. In your eyes, immortals are fools who say I protect this one and I support that one? Jianglin was both angry and amused. Listen carefully, this is how immortals act. The witch here was at a loss for words and could only stay to discipline her sister. She forgot about pushing down her husband for a moment. Over there, Wei Dongliu followed the Bloodsea Patriarch back to Zongtai Peak and asked, What about Shiradayu and Dong Huangdo? There is no need for you and me to go to these two sects in person. The Bloodsea Patriarch stroked his beard and said calmly, I'll write a letter and send it over. Wei Dongliu said yes, thinking to himself, as expected, there is still a clear discrimination chain and class division in the 6 paths. There is actually a considerable rift between the direct descendants and major clans like Tianmo and Yinghui and the outsiders and minor clans like Shura and Donghuang, even greater than the differences between Kunlun and Shushan. Now they are only forced together by relying on interests. After I become the co-master of the 6 paths, I still have to find a chance to eliminate it, otherwise it will become a disaster that will cause the 6 paths to fall apart in the future. Chapter 739. Which Jing fights for her husband. The 6 Paths Alliance perceives Kunlun and soon reached a consensus. Representatives of the 4 sects, the Heavenly Demon Sect, the Mortal Sect, the Azure Sect, and the Eastern Emperor Sect, met at the English Sect's residence in Beiman Mountain to discuss how to compete with Kunlun for the Yunzthong region. On the surface, this was the case, but since the English Sect was the main beneficiary of the competition for Yunzthong, in fact, everyone was bargaining with the English Sect to make it pay enough to compensate for everyone's expenses. Wei Dongliu looked at these people, who were arguing in the hall and haggling over every penny, and suddenly felt a little funny in his heart. He had participated in many high-level meetings of the 3 pure ones of the Orthodox Church. Whether it was Kunlun, Shushan or Penglai, they all liked to engage in complicated and cumbersome ancient etiquette, making the communication boring and long, for fear that they would not be able to highlight the etiquette and cultivation of their own sects. On the other hand, everyone in Jirizhou was uneducated and rude. When they opened their mouths, they would say that you had more benefits, and when they closed their mouths, they would say that I had more losses. Sometimes they would play the victim and say that the sect could no longer afford to support people, and sometimes they would threaten to withdraw if they did not give benefits. In short, they used all means to make the main hall of the underground palace of Yingadeo look like buying vegetables in a vegetable market. Wei Dongliu was not good at this kind of business negotiation, so he simply asked the deputy sect leader Jianglin to come forward and negotiate on behalf of Fanxingdao and other sects. The negotiation on the distribution of benefits ended quickly. After all, everyone had been dealing with each other for so many years, and the bottom line of acceptance of each party was also very clear. No one was crazy enough to take advantage of it. However, as to who would be the leader of this war, because it involved the reputation and prestige of the sect, there was a lot of quarrels. The representative sent by Shirado this time, Master Jiu Kong, insisted that since Tichen Mountain was used as a springboard to attack Kunlun, Shirado should be the commander-in-chief. If Shirado can resist Kunlun's attack head-on, Wen Yang said slowly, then it's okay to let Shirado take the position of leader. That's not appropriate. Although Master Jiukong was dressed as a monk, he didn't look reserved at all. He just smiled and said, our Tichen Mountain is located between Kunlun and Shushan. If we want to deal with Kunlun's attack alone, the pressure will be too great. Your sect can help share some of the burden. How can that be? Wen Yang said immediately, since you are the leader, you naturally have to contribute the most in this war, otherwise how can you convince the people? How about this? Our Yinggido has as many Yuning and Jindan cultivators as Yushirado has. If you can do this, the position of leader is not out of the question. Master Jiukong shut up embarrassedly. Even if he was thick-skinned, he couldn't say we can't afford so many people, but we want to be the leader. Wen Yang looked around calmly and said, is there anyone who wants to compete with us, the invaluable, for the position of the leader? Fellow Daoist Lianshan, you are joking. Ling Yunzhenrum of the Heavenly Demon Dao said with a smile, whoever has the most high-level cultivators can be the leader. I think Kunlun should be the leader. So the scene suddenly burst into laughter. Obviously, no one agreed with this view. It is definitely not okay to use the number of cultivators dispatched as the standard for becoming the leader. Jiangli smiled secretly and said, otherwise, we can simply restrict the share of troops sent by the leader, rather than the leader's sect. Everyone can send as many troops as they want. Wen Yang did not answer, and quickly thought of a response in his mind. Since the main battlefield this time was set in Gyeongthong, it must be that the Ingido sent the most troops. But even so, the help of the Heavenly Demon and the Mortal Do is definitely indispensable. Jiangli secretly threatened to send troops, and Wen Yang really couldn't just evade it, but she narrowed her eyes suspiciously, wondering if Ling Yunzhenrum of the Heavenly Demon Do had reached some kind of consensus with Jiang Monu behind the scenes. The former just started, and the latter immediately joined in, as if they had discussed it beforehand. In my opinion, to be the leader of the 6 paths, all 6 paths must first recognize you. Ling Yunzhenrum said with a sweet smile, if one path lacks recognition, you are not worthy at the position of co-leader. That's right. Jiangli secretly agreed, if there is a sect that does not recognize you, and therefore does not work hard in the future, how can we win this war? Let alone, if the leader is given to the Ingido, we will not recognize it. Ling Yunzhenrum continued, the Ingido has already reaped all the benefits this time. If they also want to take the empty title, what should we allies do? Just drink some soup and water on the side. That's true. Jiangli secretly stretched out his voice, if the Ingido really wants an alliance, don't be too greedy. Wen Yang. She suddenly cried out that it was not good, realizing that her trump card had been seen through. The reason why Venerable Baigyu asked her to come to negotiate this time instead of authorizing the Ingido sect leader was indeed that the Ingido had already reaped all the benefits this time, so they did not have much desire for the empty title of leader, and could give it up when necessary. However, when the head of Xi was really not at the scene, the attitude of the Ingido that was not enthusiastic about the leader was immediately seen through by the other side. Mistake. I should have let the head of the sect come over to pretend earlier. Wen Yang looked at the head of the sect, Wei Dongliu, who was sitting quietly and silently behind Jiangli, and he secretly regretted it. In fact, the position of leader is more suitable for our Fanxingdo. Jiangli smiled secretly and said, there are 3 reasons. First, this plan was first created by our Fanxingdo. We have made contributions to the Six-Do Alliance and deserve the position of leader this time. Second, the Ingido and the Shurdo are too close to Kunlun. If they are the leaders of the 6 Dos this time, they will have to bear the full pressure of Kunlun. If I am Watra's Han, I can share that burden for you. She said this shameless statement of we are the leader for your good without changing her face and with great righteousness, so that everyone was shocked by her calm attitude and was speechless for a long time. Wen Yang was stunned and kept looking at Wei Dongliu behind her. He thought to himself, how shameless. Who of the couple came up with this idea of being a whore and still wanting to be a saint? Well, Brother Wei would definitely not be so despicable. It must have been Witch Jiang's own idea. That's strange. The representative of Dong Huangdo, Zhenrum Wanling, suddenly laughed. Then now Dong Huangdo and Theti and Modo are even farther away from Kunlun. Aren't they more suitable to be the leader? Kunlun can't retaliate against us anyway. Indeed. Jiangli smiled dimly, but Shushan and Penglai can. If Shushan goes south, Dong Huangdo will ask for help. Penglai looks west, and Ti and Modo will be restrained. How can the leader be busy defending his home before the war with Kunlun starts? That's really laughable. Only our Mount Watai is located in the heart of China and is not directly adjacent to the 3 pure ones of the Orthodox Church. It has large strategic depths to the west, east, and south. Therefore, it is most suitable to be the leader who is behind the scenes and strategizes. Everyone was speechless. Does your geographical advantage of being in a remote corner also count as an advantage of becoming the leader? The third, and most crucial point. Jiangli smiled sweetly, when it comes to strategizing, who can compare to my husband, Wei Dongliu, the leader of Fanxingdo? If any of you think that your ability to govern the sect is stronger than my husband, you can also come and compete for the position of leader. So the scene suddenly became quiet. Is Wei Donliu good at governing the sect? Looking at the previous disunity of Fanshindo, and then looking at the strict laws and order of Mount Watai now, you can see the level of his skills. Of course, if you really want to compare, there will definitely be people who will not accept it and think that they can do it themselves. However, even if you think so in your heart, you can't say it on the spot. Otherwise, without any evidence, empty talk to compete with Wei Donliu will only be regarded as a joke. Sorry, I was scolded so badly. Chapter 746 Paths Alliance Leader Wei Dongliu. There was silence in the main hall. There was nothing wrong with what Jianglin said. If you want to compete with Wei Donliu in the ability to govern a sect, there is indeed no one on the scene who can produce enough results to match him. After all, there are not many sects like Fanshindo that have potential and foundation but cannot exert sufficient strength in this world, at least among the 6 paths, it is the only one. But, who stipulates that the leader must be good at governing a sect? Wen Yang thought about the words of counterattack and was about to speak, but he only heard Ling Yunzhen smiled and said, yes, if we talk about the ability to plan and strategize, we, Tian Modo, are convinced by Master Wei. Wen Yang. Sure enough. Tian Modo and Fanshindo have indeed been connected behind the scenes. It should be noted that among the 5 paths present, Shirado and Donghuangdu actually have no ability to compete for the leader. Most of the time, they just compete symbolically, and then wait for the other 3 paths to discuss the final result, and then shout I agree. The only ones who can really compete and decide who will be the leader are Yinggido, Tianmodo and Mortaldo. In the past, when Mortaldo was weak, Yinggido and Tianmodo were fighting each other and trying to win over Mortaldo to support them. Now that Mortaldo has risen again, it stands to reason that the eldest and second oldest should cooperate and join forces to suppress the third oldest. As a result, Tianmodo not only did not help suppress Mortaldo, but instead linked up with it, giving it a green light all the way to escort it, making it so that Yinggido can't do anything to the other party now. What is going on? Wen Yang looked at Jianglin silently, thinking that the problem probably lies with his old friend. Not only is she from Tianmodo, a direct disciple of the ancestors Izahir, but she is also the wife of the sect master and deputy sect master of Mortaldo. It is obvious that she is the link between the 2 sects. There has never been a similar person before, because both sects are worried that she will transfer benefits to the other side. But now Jiangmona considers herself as a mortal cultivator, and strives for benefits for Wei Dongliu everywhere, and the heavenly demon Do is not dissatisfied at all, which is really strange. She was thinking in confusion, and heard Jianglin continue to ask, are there any objections? If everyone agrees, then the matter of the leader will be settled. I have a question. Wen Yang said, didn't it say that to be the leader, all 6 paths must agree? Now there are only 5 paths, and one has not yet expressed its position. Have you forgotten? Everyone showed strange expressions when they heard it. Although it is the head of the 6 paths, the hell path never shows up in public. This has been a common practice for thousands of years. Wen Yang suddenly raised this because he was sure that the hell path would not speak, so he played a delaying tactic here and went back to discuss countermeasures with the white bone venerable. Jianglian sneered and said, since you haven't attended, you naturally acquiesce to this. Why force the other party to express his opinion? In my opinion, if you don't agree with one thing, you are not worthy at the position of co-leader. Wen Yang simply played rogue. This is what you just agreed to, fellow Daoist Jiang. Jianglian stared at her coldly, his expression gloomy. You little bitch, you deliberately spread rumors with my husband and the Yinggido before. Do you really think I don't intend to make trouble for you? If it weren't for the past friendship, I would have killed you long ago. She was about to refute, but suddenly she felt a hand on her shoulder. It was her husband Wei Donliu behind her, motioning her to stay calm and look ahead. Jianglian looked forward, and saw that in the center of the hall, in the void, several lines of text suddenly appeared, as if an invisible hand was writing in ink. Wei is the leader, and the Heldo seconded. Now the hall was completely silent. Ha ha ha. Donghuangduist Wanling suddenly laughed. Interesting, really interesting. The Heldo, who has never appeared in public, has actually come forward to express his position for the Mortaldo. She narrowed her narrow eyes, and her gaze was cold as she swept across the people present. In that case, let's not argue anymore, just leave it like this. Wait. Wen Yang was still struggling. Only these few lines of text may not prove that the meaning behind them is the Heldo, not the Heldo. Shirado Master Jiukong asked curiously, this is the main hall of the Yinggido, your sect's own territory. Except for the elusive Heldo, who else can leave a message in the main hall of your sect openly? I think maybe it was directed and acted by Yinggido. Ling Yunzhen Ranofti and Modelo smiled maliciously. I heard that Doist Lianshan and Sect Master Wei have a very deep friendship. In fact, Doist Lianshan also agreed to let Sect Master Wei be the leader, but it was not easy to say it for the benefit of the sect behind him, so he could only pretend to be the hand of Heltro to make things a foregone conclusion. Isn't it really well intentioned? Wen Yang was speechless. He knew that if he continued to obstruct unreasonably, these scumbags would make up some disgusting things to frame him. So he simply sat back with a cold face and remained silent. So the matter of the 6 leaders was settled. Fan Xingdu was responsible for taking the lead and coordinating the planning, with Wei Dongliu as the leader. Ying Lido, Tian Modo, Shirodo, and Dong Huangdu each sent cultivators to join the alliance and besieged Kunlin. Wei Dongliu returned to Zhongtai Peak and reported the matter to the Bloodsea Patriarch. He also wrote a declaration of war in his name and asked the messenger to send it to Kunlin. Kunlin accepted the challenge, but that was not mentioned for now. A few days later, the 5 sects, led by the sect masters, went to Mount Watai to discuss tactics. The sect headquarters of the Shindao sect was built on the site where the Tongchuan sect was exterminated in the past, disregarding the so-called unlucky sites or unlucky, which surprised the sect masters. After all, in their opinion, Mount Watai is so big, why choose this site? And it was a site where a sect was exterminated. There seemed to be no other possibility except that Wei Dongliu wanted to use this as a warning to deter the sect. The head of the Yinggido, Fushi, gave mostly favorable comments. Don't worry about whether the sect is destroyed or not. When the Tongchuan sect was destroyed, the murderer sacrificed the souls here, but was later struck by thunder. Now the surrounding area is full of evil spirits. If the Zhuxian sword formation is set up here, the power of this evil spirit will be increased by at least 30%. Sect leader Wei has a good vision. What's the matter? Demon Bone Immortal retorted, I think he just wants to save trouble and doesn't want to find another place to build a large-scale project. You know shit. Head of the Fushi cursed unceremoniously, if you can have even a third of the ability of Sect leader Wei, I'll give you the position of head of the sect. Demon Bone Immortal remained silent, turned around and saw Enyang talking to several Taoist masters of the Mortal Dojo, so she called her. Hey, Lianshan. What are you doing over there? Wen Yang walked back with a book and said with a smile. These mortal cultivators are really interesting. They compiled Sect Master Wei's remarks into a book for daily study and comprehension. I just flicked through it and found that it contains quite a few novel ideas on how to govern the sect. Upon hearing this, Sect Master Fushi was also curious, so he took the book and flicked through it a few times. Well, not bad, it's really interesting. Father, are you joking? True Man Mogiv sneered, this book is just, shut up. Sect Master Fushi interrupted him, if you say another word, I'll make you copy this book 100 times. Chapter 741 Kunlun must make the worst plan. In the main hall of the Fanshindo, the 5 major sects gathered together again and began to discuss how to attack Kunlun. This is very easy. Wei Dongliu laid out the plan. First, we will dispatch 120 elite monks of the demon sect to infiltrate the Byeonthong area from Bayman Mountain and attack the mines, medicine gardens, and other key hubs controlled by Kunlun. In this way, Kunlun will definitely send monks to rescue Byeonthong. We will deploy a large army in Tichin Mountain and cut off the retreat of these monks in the direction of Longshan. Everyone in the main hall nodded. This was a plan that had been decided long ago and was sufficiently feasible, otherwise no one would agree to participate. Then, Wei Dongliu paused for a moment and continued, this is an open conspiracy. There are many knowledgeable people in Kunlun, and they may not fail to see it. If Kunlun wants to break the situation, there are 3 strategies. The best, the middle and the worst. The best strategy is to seek assistance from Shushan and approach Shura Road from the southeast. The army of Tichin Mountain will be threatened by this and will not be able to threaten Kunlun's flank. The middle strategy is to send more monks to defend Byeonthong, and at the same time threaten Tichin Mountain with elite troops, and attack on 2 fronts. The worst strategy is to send high-level monks to surprise attack Baymang Mountain and force us to withdraw our offensive activities in Byeonthong. What strategy does Master Wei think Kunlun should take? Doug Yuji, the master of Tianmodo, asked slowly. This person looks like a middle-aged woman with high cheekbones and a pale face. However, Wei Dongliu's biggest impression of her is not this, but that this person is one of the murderers who killed Elder Shiding. We will find a chance to arrange it later, but not now. Wei Dongliu pondered for a moment and said, if I am right, Kunlun should take the worst strategy. So there was laughter in the main hall. The three strategies of upper, middle and lower are also old cliches in this world. Among them, the best strategy refers to those beautiful but unfeasible strategies, and the worst strategy refers to strategies that are too hasty and will inevitably fail. Generally speaking, when the three strategies of upper, middle and lower are mentioned, people actually hope to adopt the middle strategy. But Wei Donliu claimed that Kunlun will take the worst strategy, although it meant to despise the opponent strategically, which made everyone feel relieved. But strategic prediction is not a joke after all. Will Kunlun really choose to surprise attack by Mang mounting? Everyone was waiting for Wei Dongliu to explain, but the leader Wei did not continue, but raised his cup and took a sip. Tactical drinking, the boss's airs at full. Everyone was speechless, and the head of Xi looked at the real person of Magi calmly, silently signaling with his eyes. Everyone present was either the sect master or the elders, so of course they couldn't condescend to ask Wei Donliu why, because that would make the questioner look stupid. He brought his son here specially, on the one hand to let him gain some experience, and on the other hand to make it useful at this time. Demon Bone Master cursed in his heart, and said reluctantly, "Why did Kunlun choose the worst strategy? Apart from other things, Kunlun has tried to wipe out our Yingida so many times in history, and has not even found the sect's residence. Why is it willing to take the risk this time?" Wei Dongliu pondered for a moment, thinking that this can't be told the truth. The reason is very simple. Zhao Jinghong proposed the surprise attack strategy, on the one hand, because many Kunlun cultivators really hope to win a quick battle, and on the other hand, because they have to fight Qiu Cheng Tian, and Qiu Cheng Tian has already chosen the middle strategy. Even if there is a little less of the two, or if it is not Zhao Jinghong who proposed the surprise attack strategy, but someone else, Kunlun will not choose the surprise attack in the end. But this is not easy to explain to these demon cult leaders, who is not a smart person. If you accidentally reveal a flaw, it will be fatal. Seeing that Wei Donliu was silent, Demon Bone Immortal immediately glanced at Wen Yang with a smug look and said with a smile, "If Kunlun is so stupid, why would he need the Six Paths Alliance? We, the Invaluable, can easily defeat it." Before he finished speaking, he suddenly stopped suspiciously. Because Wei Dongliu, who was sitting on the throne, had already revealed a leisurely and mysterious smile, and said leisurely, "It's too troublesome to explain, so let's not talk about it for now. The Invaluable only needs to set up an ambush and wait for Kunlun's surprise attack near Bayman Mountain." "What if Kunlun doesn't come?" Demon Bone Immortal asked immediately. "What do you want to do?" Wei Dongliu asked with a smile. When Demon Bone Master was about to propose harsh conditions, but was immediately shouted back by Master Fushi, "Shut up." Then he looked at Wei Dongliu and said, "Master Wei, please calm down. I'm sorry for not teaching you well." Everyone laughed. After all, everyone present had heard of the strange name of Demon Bone Master. Although there was no bet, if Kunlun did not surprise attack Baimang Mountain as Wei Dongliu expected, everyone would definitely regard it as a joke of Wei Dongliu. At the time, if Wei Dongliu wanted to issue orders in the name of the leader, he would not blame some passers-by for saying something weird. So the first meeting was dispersed. All the leaders went back to select people and prepare to form a team to surprise attack Yunzthong. The Ingido also needed extra people to deal with the upcoming Kunlun surprise attack. Wen Yang did not leave with Master Fushi, but stayed alone. "Do you have anything else to say, Brother Wen?" Jiangli asked leisurely beside him. "I'm just curious, what is the basis for fellow Daoist Wei to predict that Kunlun will launch a surprise attack?" Wen Yang asked frankly. Although Wei Dongliu refused to tell everyone just now, he might not be unwilling to explain to her. Even if he had to keep it secret from her, she had at least asked, and she would have an explanation to the Fixie sect master after returning. "Let's not talk about this, you Yinggido just need to be prepared," Wei Dongliu said lightly. Wen Yang sighed helplessly and looked at Jianglin again. Jiangmunu immediately showed a proud and arrogant smile. "I just want to see you like this." This jealous look at me, turned around and hugged Wei Dongliu's arm, and said in a delicate voice, "Husband, I have something to ask you." As she said that, she dragged Wei Dongliu to the back hall. Wen Yang stared at the backs of the two people blankly, and suddenly a thought popped up in her mind. If I can recognize my current gender earlier, will the person next to fellow Daoist Wei now not be Jiangmonu? Wei Dongliu was dragged back to the room by Jianglin. He had already called Arjun secretly. If this lady wanted to force him to have sex again, he would let Arjun cast an illusion to freeze him. A trumpet is a trumpet, destined to be in name only. The only one who can do whatever he wants is Cheng Yuanzui. This is the bottom line of a pure love warrior. However, Jianglin did not do anything rash. He just asked curiously, "Husband, how do you know that Kunlun will launch a surprise attack?" Humph. Wei Dongliu showed a mysterious smile, but before he could open his mouth, Madame Jing stretched out 2 fingers, hooked the corners of his mouth, and forcibly destroyed his pretentious smile. "Don't keep me in suspense, tell me," she threatened viciously, "otherwise I will take your yuanyum." Chapter 742. Wei Devil's evil plan. Faced with his wife's coercion and inducement, Wei Dongliu had no choice but to pretend that it was a message from hell. Jianglin immediately believed it 3/10. After all, hell did send a message to Wei Dongliu. As for the other 7/10, it was about the relationship between Wei Dongliu and hell. When Wei Dongliu went to hell, he went alone, and Madame Jing was in the market outside, purchasing elixirs for her apprentice, so she didn't know the specific secrets between Wei Dongliu and hell. Now it seems that my husband seems to be deeply involved with hell, by the way, Avok by Demon Lord, the infernal hell. Could it be that my husband is the secret leader of hell? Thinking of this, Jianglin was a little excited, and a little proud of seeing through her husband's secret. So that's how it is. My husband shouldn't have kept it from me. She pushed Wei Dongliu down on the bed, and kissed him on the face a few times, like a big cat pouncing on its prey. Then what do you think? If all of Kunlun's surprise attack teams are defeated, will Kunlun be devastated, or even, don't dream? Wei Dongliu pushed her head and sneered, "It's just a defeat. It's far from being a serious blow to Kunlun. However, this war is not meant to severely damage Kunlun." Having said that, Wei Dongliu stopped talking immediately. Jianglin was also smart and cunning. When she heard Wei Dongliu say this, she immediately understood. What her husband wanted was not some actual benefit, but the empty title of the co-leader of the 6 paths. As long as this war can be successfully concluded, the 6 paths will realize that Wei Dongliu, the leader, is not just a figurehead, but a leader who can truly lead them to compete with the 3 pure ones of the Orthodox Church. When such a consensus is formed, it will bring great prestige to Wei Dongliu. This prestige has exceeded the limit of the Master of the Mortal Dojo, and also exceeded the limit of the Jindan Cultivator and the Union Cultivator. It is based on the common interests of multiple interest groups and is therefore almost indestructible. My husband is aiming for a long time, and it is by no means a one-night gain. Next, as the demon cult carried out infiltration activities in the Gyeongthong area, Wei Dongliu suddenly became busy. The Gyeongthong area in the cultivation world is different from the secular understanding. When mortals talk about Gyeongthong, they think of 8 waters surrounding Chang'an, and think of gorgeous cities and vast farmlands. But the production resources of these agricultural societies are as cheap as dirt to the cultivators. The spiritual stones, spiritual herbs, exotic beasts and other resources that the cultivators really need are mostly found in the deep mountains far away from the human race. Therefore, the resources in Gyeongthong that Liudu and Kunlun are competing for are Qinlang, Longshan, Liupanshan, etc. Especially Qinlang, although it is rugged and difficult for mortals, it is a famous mountain and treasure land for cultivators with luxuriant spiritual grass, rich spiritual mines, and countless immortal caves. Many resources controlled by Kunlun are scattered in that vast Qinlang mountains, and Wei Dongliu needs to let the Liudu monks team to remove, occupy, and defend them at fixed points. At the same time, he also has to investigate the movements of Kunlun monks, send additional support and manpower, design evacuation routes as contingency plans, etc. Which is simply too busy. Of course, Wei Dongliu also knows exactly how Kunlun monks will fight back. After all, the plan on the other side was designed by Qiu Chang Tian. But precisely because it was designed by Qiu Chang Tian, and most of the manpower used came from the Zhu family and the Ji family, Wei Dongliu can't let it suffer too much damage. This is difficult to deal with. After all, the palms and backs of the hands are all flesh, and you can't let the men on the side of the mortal life path bear the casualties. For example, it is like an exam. You can neither get below 60 points nor above 80 points. This is much more difficult than simply getting a high score. After all, this is a serious sect war. It is impossible to rush out and say we are all family members, don't fight anymore. Just when Wei Dongliu was having a headache, he saw Jianglin coming in from outside and said, "They are discussing the bet." "What bet?" Wei Dongliu asked in confusion. "It's the bet between you and the real demon bone," Jianglin said leisurely, "betting on how Kunlun will deal with our infiltration." After his wife's explanation, Wei Dongliu finally understood. It turned out that the 3 strategies of upper, middle and lower were very consistent with the aesthetics of this era, so after the meeting, everyone discussed it with great interest within the sect. Of course, the discussion was limited to the top leaders of the sect, but the discipline of the demon sect was lax after all. After a long time, someone would accidentally leak the news and finally reach Cumlin's ears. If Cumlin knew about these 3 strategies, how would he react? Anyway, he would definitely not continue to choose surprise attacks. In this way, it would be equivalent to Dongliu's prediction being wrong, and his prestige would be greatly damaged. Thinking of this, Dongliu sneered. There is no need to think about it, it must be the Ingido who is behind it. Thinking of this, Dongliu turned his attention back to the work at hand. Since most of the monks are composed of teams, and monks from the same sect must be familiar with each other, most of the teams are composed of monks from the same sect, such as the Ingido team or the Tianmodo team. When arranging the team, Dongliu carried forward the spirit of fairness that the leader should have. Whether it is a relatively simple raid mission or a more dangerous defensive mission, it is basically divided equally among all sects, and there will be no obvious favoritism to protect certain sects. This distribution arrangement is given to the major sects for review, and everyone will definitely not find any faults. However, if Qiu Changtai learns of this distribution arrangement due to some force majeure, and then chooses to focus on annihilating the Ingadeo team and recovering the mines occupied by the Ingadeo, what does this have to do with me, Dongliu? Thinking of this, Dongliu showed an evil smile and continued to make plans. Jingli secretly looked at her husband's smile. Although she didn't know what he was thinking about, she could guess that he must be making a bad plan, so she put her hands on the table and stretched comfortably. Being with her husband, it won't be boring anyway, she thought so contentedly, feeling and absorbing the joy and pride of the people around her, and slowly fell asleep. As the plan gradually unfolded, the nearly 100 demon monks who attacked the Gyeongthong area in the early stage, as Qiu Changtai confirmed in advance, successfully seized many resource points. One part is the proven mines, and the other part is the growth point of spiritual herbs that are still waiting to mature, as well as the habitats of some strange beasts. Generally speaking, mines should be mined carefully to avoid damaging the edges and corners of the ore. The spiritual herbs and exotic animals had to wait until the right time to be harvested, but Dongliu didn't care about that. After all, Cumling could take them back at any time. The mine immediately sent more people to mine as much as possible, and all the mining volume of the day was transported away. The spiritual herbs were not waited for to mature, and all were harvested and taken away. The exotic animals were also naturally hunted and killed, skinned and pulled out, and wasted. After a few days, the specific harvest on the Liudro side was so rich that it was jaw-dropping. Chapter 743. Be ruthless. Before this war, the demon cult also besieged Penglai and Shushan successively. The siege of Penglai made everyone rich. A large number of elixirs, talismans, magic tools and other cultivation resources that were not transported away in time were still eaten up even if they were divided up by the 5 sects. As for the siege of Shushan, it was a complete accident. In order to prevent the Wangxai Bangju immortal sword from falling into the hands of Shushan, the 6 sects united to suppress Shushan. Overall, it was definitely not worth the loss. Although Shushan lost many sword immortals in the battle, the demon cult must have lost more people. The key is that they did not get any benefits. The only thing to be thankful for is that the Jirizhao immortal sword was confirmed to have not been leaked. From then on, everyone had a rough idea. With the combined power of the 5 sects, they can basically beat Penglai and compete with Shushan head-on. Further speculation, it may still be far behind Cumlin. Therefore, although the crowd gathered in front of huge interest to besiege Cumlin this time, they didn't really think they could get an advantage, but it was because it was beyond their expectations that it was a surprise. The first batch of harvest lists were put on the table. In the main hall of the Watai Mountain Fanshindo, everyone fell into a strange state of silence. It was originally thought that the biggest benefit would be taken away by the Ingido. After all, these resource points in the Gyeongthong area can basically only be operated and profited by the Ingido closest to them for a long time. However, it was unexpected that so many resources were obtained with only destructive mining in the early stage. The head of Xi also had some regrets. If he had known that the early harvest would be so rich, he should not have agreed to so many conditions. You know, everyone asked the Ingido to agree to pay a large amount of resources on the grounds that Gyeongthong was taken by the Ingido before they were willing to send troops to join this alliance. Fortunately, those resources have not been paid yet. Can we find a reason to refuse later? The headmaster was thinking unrealistic thoughts, and suddenly he heard the real demon bone said, Lead the way. Because you said Cumlin was going to attack Baymang Mountain, we arranged heavy troops to set up an ambush near the sect, and did not send more people to plunder it the first time, otherwise we could have obtained more gains. Can you ask the Fanxing Duo to compensate for the loss caused by the misjudgment? This was really unreasonable, because if we really wanted the reward according to merit, Wei Dongliu's personal command would only have greater merit, and there was absolutely no rule to ask the Fanxing Duo to get less for this. However, looking at the representatives of the Tianmo, Donghuangdo, and Shirodo, they all pretended to be deaf and dumb at this time, and did not come out to speak for the Fanxing Duo. The reason is not difficult to guess. They are worried that Wei Dongliu will use the tactical deployment as an excuse to give the most of the gains to the Fanxing Duo, so they're happy to see the Ingido find excuses to suppress the leader. Jiangli looked at Master Magi coldly, thinking, if you don't know how to be a human being, why don't you let me eat your father and teach you on behalf of your father? Wei Dongliu was not angry. After all, he didn't expect that he would be supported and respected by other sects as soon as he became the leader. Therefore, he just smiled and said, it is too early to make a conclusion whether Cumlin will launch a surprise attack. Yingadeo believes that if it is a misjudgment, Fanxing Duo should compensate. If Cumlin does launch a surprise attack later, as a price to remind you to be on guard, should Yingadeo pay a thank you gift in return? Hearing him attribute the matter to what Yingadeo thinks instead of Master Magi's thoughts, Master Fixie knew that he couldn't be vague about the matter anymore. Either admit to the bet with Fanxing Duo. If Cumlin didn't launch a surprise attack, Fanxing Duo would pay lost work wages. If Cumlin launched a surprise attack, Yingadeo would pay thank you gift. Or pretend that nothing happened and blame the matter on Master Magi's ignorance, and then distribute it as it should be. Wei Dongliu was so sure, was he sure of it, or was he just bluffing? If he thought about it carefully, why would he do this? Just teasing the Ingido and being laughed at for misjudgment, there is no point at all. This person is very scheming and cunning, and he is definitely not the kind of person who would do meaningless things. Ahem. The head of Fushi coughed a few times, then glared at the Demon Bone Master, and smiled embarrassedly. My son Ming Lang, let the Wei Sect Master laugh at you. Demon Bone. If you dare to talk nonsense again, get out of here. This is not a place for you to go crazy. The Demon Bone Master shut up angrily, feeling extremely helpless. Since the Ingido Sect Master gave in, Wei Dongliu stopped being aggressive, but continued to discuss the distribution plan with everyone. This equal division is definitely not possible. Some sects contribute more people and effort, and some sects are simply here to make up the numbers. If you just divide it equally, it will only dampen the enthusiasm of all allies. However, some sects have bigger appetites, while some sects have lower expectations, so it is not appropriate to distribute benefits entirely according to contributions. Fortunately, Wei Dongliu was experienced and Jianglin is eloquent. The two of them have never been at a disadvantage in dealing with negotiations with other sects. After the Six Paths meeting, Wei Dongliu called out Arjun again and asked her to read the save file and have Qiu Chang's go to see the situation. Let's not talk about Shushan, Penglai and Donghuangren for now. The most urgent task is to deal with the battle between Cumlin and the Demonic Path. Point 1. Cumlin Tai King Sect, Jinlang. Character Identity. Qiu Chang's Iron. Mirror Flower Water Moon template is overwritten, and is traveling through time and space. Arriving in Cumlin, Qiu Chang's Iron continued to arrange tasks. Now Cumlin has suffered a small loss, and many resources have been occupied by the demonic cult, and they are about to take them back one by one. Qiu Chang's Iron examined the topographic map of Qilang Mountains. All places occupied by Ingida would be quickly recovered by heavy troops. As for other resource points, they would be deployed according to their importance. It was not that Cumlin would not touch the mines occupied by the monks of Fanxing Duo. That would be too obvious and would be noticed by others. If you think about it carefully, even if Qiu Chang Tian, did not exist, as long as Cumlin was still a big family in the cultivation world, it would have to fight with the demon cult sooner or later. There would be sacrifices in war. As long as Qiu Chang Tian worked hard for Cumlin and Wei Dongliu devoted himself to the demon cult, and did not deliberately command everyone to go to the front line to give up their lives, some casualties would have been unavoidable. Thinking of this, Qiu Chang Tian also hardened his heart and included the mines occupied by the monks of Fanxing Duo in the list of attacks that Cumlin planned to recover. After all the arrangements were completed, he took the plan and went to the main hall of Cumlin to show it to his master. As a result, as soon as he arrived at the main hall entrance, he saw that there were already groups of elders gathered here, with serious and ugly expressions. In the sky not far away, more streams of light suddenly appeared, and it was obvious that everyone was rushing to Yuxu Palace. Qiu Changtai asked for a while and got the expected news. The team that attacked Baimang Mountain was defeated and lost, and only 3 out of 10 survived. Chapter 744. Scapegoat Tactics, right. Not long after, Zhao Jinghong also returned with the surprise attack troops. There were no scars on his body. After all, for a cultivator, most fatal injuries can be saved as long as they do not kill him on the spot. But from the damage and burn marks on his robe, as well as the exhausted look on his face, it can be seen that he was tortured badly by the Engader. Looking at the number of people, it is indeed much less than before the expedition. Qiu Changtai originally wanted to say something sarcastic, such as pretending to know nothing and asking Master Yun Hong whether the surprise attack was successful, but thinking that although the dead were cunning cultivators from the Zhao family camp, they were still cunning cultivators after all, he felt a little sad for a while. Zhu Yingyan stood behind Qiu Changtai, looking at the team that was in a slump and frowned uncomfortably. With so many casualties, someone has to be responsible. She said in a cold tone, let's see if the Guanzhou family still has the face to continue fighting with us. How can they not have the face to continue? Qiu Changtai thought to himself. If the surprise attack succeeds, the Guanzhou family might consider reconciliation with the Tian and Zhu family. After all, it would be disadvantageous to the entire Kunlun if they continued to fight. If they took advantage, they could collect it in time. But now the surprise attack has suffered a major setback, and the Zhao family camp itself has lost a lot of strength. If they don't fight against the Tian and Zhu family, the accountability and reflection from within the family will be a problem that the top leaders of the family can't handle at all. If the Guanzhou family is a dictatorship of the patriarch, they can still make a 180-degree turn and forcefully suppress the impetuous hearts. However, according to what Qiu Changtai knows, the Zhao family should be a joint decision made by the patriarch and several powerful elders. In this way, as long as they admit that they have failed in the confrontation, then as Sister Zhu said, someone must be responsible for it. Who will be responsible? After taking responsibility, should they ask for forgiveness? Will anyone in the family listen to what they say in the future? It's better to hold on and deny it. As long as they continue to fight against the Tian and Zhu family, with such a powerful external enemy, the Zhao family will naturally move forward, and the threat to the clan's high-level rule will be reduced to the lowest level. Anyway, with Qiu Changtai's dark thinking, he believes that the Guanzhou family will definitely continue to fight, which is in line with the collective interests of the clan's high-level leaders. When they came to the main hall, Qiu Changtai, as the commander, cleared his throat and said, regarding the failure of this surprise attack, I, as the war coordinator, bear an unshakable responsibility. This is of course just a cliché. Everyone knows that it was the Guanzhou family who ignored Qiu Changtai's dissuasion and opposition and insisted on carrying out Zhao Jinghong's surprise attack plan. Qiu Changtai's words now, although giving Zhao Jinghong a step down, but the damage to his prestige is even more serious. Zhao Jinghong did not speak, but just nodded indifferently. Nod. What does it mean? Before Qiu Changtai could react, Elder Yuan Zhao of the Zhao family suddenly said, the reason why the surprise attack plan failed is not because of the negligence of Master Chang Zhen, but because someone in the sect leaked the secret. After that, 2 Jindan masters came out and pressed a cultivator to the crowd. This person is a hidden man planted by the Engader. Elder Yuan Zhao said coldly, after interrogation, this person confessed to his crime. We confirm that the reason why the surprise attack plan failed is because this person leaked the secret to the Engader. Qiu Changtai. Scapegoat tactics. You are playing me for a fool in front of so many elders, right? Who leaked the secret? How could I not know? Excuse me, Elder Yuan Zhao, Qiu Changtai asked. When the decision was made in the hall that day, this person was not in the main hall, right? That's right, Elder Yuan Zhao replied, but this person was one of the members of the surprise attack team heading to Baimang Mountain. This is my fault, Zhao Jinghong said indifferently. On the eve of the surprise attack, in order to let everyone make proper preparations, I told everyone the details. After this person went back, he used the flying sword to send an urgent warning to the Engader, which led to the failure of the plan. I should bear the responsibility for not detecting that a traitor had infiltrated the surprise attack team. Master Yun Hong, there is no need to blame yourself. An elder immediately came out to persuade him. The matter of traitors is ultimately unavoidable. Even in previous years, when traitors caused the sect to suffer heavy losses, the person in charge has never been held responsible. These elders of the Zhao family camp spoke one after another, and soon they pushed all the blame on the traitor, as if Zhao Jinghong's surprise attack plan would have succeeded without this traitor. Qiu Changtian pondered for a moment and looked at the Ziwei sect leader behind him. The Ziwei sect leader shook his head imperceptibly. Yes, everyone knew that the traitor was just a scapegoat, but there was no point in forcing the matter with the Guan Zhao family. After all, Zhao Jinghong was competing for the next sect leader, and the Guan Zhao family would not let him lose his prestige. If they forcefully attacked this matter, both sides would inevitably be in a desperate situation, but Kunlun would have to fight a big battle next, and they must not delay the overall situation. It is better to stop while they're ahead. Anyway, although the traitor was used to fool people on the surface, which of the senior officials present was not experienced? And then, no matter what plan Zhao Jinghong proposed, no matter how feasible it was, everyone had to weigh it carefully. Changjiang, the Ziwei sect leader said, the matter of the traitor can be handled by the discipline hall. You can tell us about the situation in Gyeongthong. Yes. Qiu Changtian began to report to the elders on the plan to recover the resource points he was responsible for. As of yesterday, half of the mines had been recovered, and another third of the resource points were still fighting with the demon cult for corresponding control. This progress was really not slow, and even the elders of the Zhao family camp could not lie with their eyes open and find any bones in the eggs. That's very good. Elder Jius said, but there is still a problem. Now many cultivators in the sect are fighting the demon cult on the front line in Gyeongthong. If the enemy sends troops from Tipchin Mountain to cut off the connection between Kunlun and the front line, and then use elite forces to eat up our arrangements in Gyeongthong, the sect will suffer a heavy blow. Changjiang, do you have any solution? What solution can there be? Qiu Changtian complained in his heart, but he said calmly, the only correct thing is to attack Tipchin Mountain first and stop the enemy from sending troops. In this way, it will be a two-front war. Elder Jius pondered. Will the cost of fighting on two fronts be too high? Elder Yuan Zhao asked with a half-smile, if there are too many casualties, even if we win, it will not be worth it. It's still the same reason. The per capita training cost of Kunlun monks is too high, several times that of demon monks. Before reaching a high level, it is extremely uneconomical to fight against demon monks. In addition, Master Yunhong's surprise attack plan failed, and the elders who originally advocated war were silent at this time. As a result, Qiu Changtian said that he wanted to expand the scale of the war, which was really hard to accept. We must do this. Qiu Changtian replied, taking the initiative to attack, no matter what the situation is, at least we can restrict the enemy within Tipchin Mountain. If we leave it alone, when Tipchin Mountain sends troops to capture Longshan, it will be difficult to drive them back. What if we set an ambush in Longshan? Zhao Jinghong suddenly said, since we already know that the demon cult will send troops from Tipchin Mountain to cut off the connection with Gyeongthong, how about we wait for them to come in Longshan? Qiu Changtian looked at him speechlessly. After being ambushed, he immediately thought of ambush and revenge. This Master Yunhong really holds a grudge. But this strategy, this is a very good plan. Elder Yuan Zhao laughed and took the lead in helping him, and responded loudly, taking the initiative to attack Tipchin Mountain, Shirogada must use all its strength to fight to the death. At the time, casualties will inevitably be unavoidable. But if we set an ambush in Longshan, we can wait for them to tire themselves out. Not only is the risk smaller, but if we can severely damage the demon cult, we can immediately reverse the situation. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 745. Unite with Shushan. As soon as Elder Yuan Zhao finished speaking, an elder began to agree. But soon, the voices of approval died down, because everyone suddenly realized that there were fewer people who agreed this time. To be more precise, the elders who came to support him were all from the Guan Zhao family, while those from the Luo family and the neutral camp were unusually silent. Everyone's eyes were focused on Qiu Changtian, as if they were waiting to see how this Changjiang's Hinram would comment. Although this plan is good, it is not appropriate. Qiu Changtian asked bluntly, what if the ambush fails? Zhao Jinghong was stunned for a moment, and quickly asked back, according to your plan, if the siege of Tipchin Mountain fails, what will happen? What do you mean by failure? Qiu Changtian smiled faintly, any strategy of temple planning must achieve its goal. The siege of Tipchen Mountain is to contain the army from going north and cut off our connection with Gyeongthong. If it is considered a failure, it is only when we are vulnerable to Tipchen Mountain and cannot stop it from occupying Longshan. If it really comes to that, I think what we need to worry about is not the safety of Gyeongthong, but the survival of our sect itself. The elders nodded one after another. If we really want to besiege Tipchen Mountain, it is almost impossible for Kunlun Tai King sect to fail with its strength. The only question is to what extent Tipchen Mountain needs to be forced. If the Shura road is to be uprooted, the losses on Kunlun's side will inevitably be astonishing. But if we can encircle but not attack, and all the cultivators who came here can return safely, then it will undoubtedly be the best choice. Zhao Jinghong certainly understood this point, and continued. Encircle but not attack, although the idea is good, but will the demon cult really act as you expect? Master Changzhen, if the demon cult sends out a large army from Tipchen Mountain, you'll suffer heavy casualties if you intercept them, and if you don't intersect them, you'll just sit back and watch them cut off the connection with Gyeongthong. What can you do? Master Yan Hong. Qiu Changtai said lightly, if we really encounter that kind of danger, what if we don't intercept them and they send their army to Kunlun? Zhao Jinghong was speechless. If the demon cult is really like you said, and wants to destroy everything together, Qiu Changtai continued calmly, then Kunlun has no choice but to fight. Well said. Ziwi's sect master suddenly praised loudly, Kunlun Tai King sect just cherishes the lives of the monks and is unwilling to start a war easily, but it is not that they don't want to fight or dare to fight. As soon as these words came out, there was no doubt that they were directed at some of the elders who had accused Qiu Changtai of being indecisive, and kindness is not good for commanding an army, so the elder Jias sighed and said, Changzhen is right. If the demon cult wants to send troops from Tipchen Mountain, there will be a battle sooner or later. Instead of passively waiting for them to make a move, it is better for us to besiege Tipchen Mountain first and take the initiative in our own hands. Elder Yuan Zhao next to him did not expect him to speak up for Qiu Changtai, and his face changed immediately. Oh no, the Luo family is going to switch to the opposite camp. As Elder Jias took the lead in speaking, the monks in the Luo family camp also echoed, and the momentum of supporting Qiu Changtai increased. Senior sister Luo Bai Yuan was also among them. When the Luo family supported Zhao Jinghong before, she asked her to help question Qiu Changtai, but she was reluctant to speak. At this time, the Luo family turned around to support Qiu Changtai, and she enthusiastically supported him. Unfortunately, she was too dumb to think of any good words, and could only repeat yes, 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 right, right, and right. The opinions in the main hall of Kunlun soon became one-sided, and they all supported Qiu Changtai's two-line strategy of sending troops, maintaining the defense of Gyeongthong while suppressing Tipchen Mountain. Ziwi's headmaster was calm and self-satisfied, but he was very proud in his heart, thinking that even if Luo family wanted to form a group with the Zhao family, you had to see if Zhao Jinghong had the ability to compete with Qiu Changtai. The two sides were very different in terms of intelligence and ability. You chose to listen to Zhao Jinghong's opinions, but how many people were buried in Baimang Mountain? It's not too late to abandon the dark and join the light. Ha 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 ha. Qiu Changtai didn't know that his master was laughing wildly in his heart, so he just said respectfully, if we can't agree on the dispute, please let the headmaster decide. Well, the headmaster Ziwi said calmly, Yun Hong, you don't support sending troops to Tipchen Mountain, right? Zhao Jinghong cursed in his heart. He just proposed a plan to set up an ambush in Longshan Mountain to restore his prestige. Since Qiu Changtai didn't approve of this strategy, he argued with the other party and picked a few small faults. In essence, it was to save face. Now that everyone supports this strategy, how could he, Yun Hong, sin against everyone and openly stand on the opposite side of so many elders? Besides, with Zhao Jinghong's eyesight, he naturally saw that although the move of approaching Tipchen Mountain was not very sophisticated, it would definitely be a problem as a response. The risk of fighting on two fronts is indeed very high, but the demon sect has taken the lead in using it. Unless Kunling gives up Gyeongthong and retracts all his fingers to form a fist, it will definitely have to divide its troops in the same way. After thinking it over quickly in his mind, Zhao Jinghong suddenly had another idea and said respectfully, Yun Hong has no objection, but he has some ideas. Since we are going to send troops to Tipchen Mountain, why can't we propose to Shushan to jointly besiege Shura Road? The elders suddenly felt their eyes brighten when they heard this. Originally, everyone had discussed that if Shushan threatened the flank, Shurarode would not be able to go north. But Shushan has always been secretly competent with Kumlin. Last time, it was perceived by the demon cult for a long time and never asked for help. Now Kumlin wants to ask Shushan for help in turn. It will be regarded by the world as a sign of Kumlin's decline. Zhao Jinghong's statement undoubtedly provides another angle. Now Kumlin is not perceived by the demon cult, but takes the initiative to teach Shurarode a lesson. In this case, inviting Shushan to come over is not a request for help, but cooperation. However, this strategy looks good, but are there any flaws in it that we didn't expect? It's not that we don't trust you, Master Yanhong, but we were really scared by you last time. A simple surprise attack killed 7 out of 10 people, and they were all elites. No one's descendants can withstand such losses. Zhao Jinghong saw that everyone was silent, and thought of the key point. He was so angry that his throat was sweet and he almost vomited blood. So because of a mistake, no one is willing to believe me now, right? Good plan. In the silence, Qiu Changtian was the first to applaud, and turned to Ziwei sect master and said, Master, I think this plan is feasible. Since it is a joint attack on Shurarode, if Shushan Shanking sect takes into account the relationship with my cunning, it will not only send out enough sword immortals, but also give Shurarode a heavy blow. Ziwei sect master instantly understood the deep meaning of his words. Aren't you Shushan going to compete with me, cunning? How about who kills more evil thieves? Okay. He nodded. Looking at Zhao Jinghong again, this Master Yanghong just stared at Qiu Changtian blankly, and gradually fell silent. Chapter 746. Sister Zhu confesses her feelings. What should we do next? After the meeting in the main hall was over, all the cultivators from the Zhao family and Yuan gathered in the cave of Elder Yuan Zhao to discuss countermeasures. The current situation is not optimistic. The Zhu family and the Ji family have joined forces to jointly support Qiu Changtian as the successor to the headmaster. If they achieve their goal, the Zhao family and the Luo family will undoubtedly suffer the most. Of course, if it is purely a confrontation between the Immortal Cultivation families, the Zhao family may not necessarily fall behind. But the current problem is that Zhao Jinghong is obviously inferior to Qiu Changtian in both cultivation talent and wisdom and decision-making. In Kumlin Tai King sect, although there are 4 major families, the cultivators from various small and medium-sized families and sects account for the majority of Jin and Zhenren and Yuning elders. If left alone, based on the performance of the current 2 candidates, most of these high-level cultivators in the neutral camp will definitely support Qiu Changtian. Therefore, Elder Yuan Zhao's opinion was to select some of these neutral cultivators who are close to the Zhao family and have them cheer for Zhao Jinghong. Then, with the help of these people, he could further expand his influence, and eventually surpass Qiu Changtian in prestige. The other elders began to settle accounts with him. If he wanted to bribe enough Yuning elders, the price he would have to pay would be an astronomical figure. If Zhao Jinghong can really become the headmaster of Kumlin in the future, this money will be worth spending. An elder said with embarrassment, the problem is there anything 100% certain in this world? If he fails in the end, and the money is paid, it will be a great loss to the clan. By then, we won't even have to apologize to the whole clan, because the clan members below will rebel directly. With so many cultivation resources, instead of supporting the clan members' cultivation, they are used to bribe outsiders. What's the point? Elder Yuan Zhao waved his hand and said impatiently, we can't be timid in doing things. Don't forget, we have invested so many resources in order for Zhao Jinghong to become a candidate for the headmaster. What do you mean now? Could it be that all the previous investments have been wasted? That's not what I mean. The elders said tentatively, we can continue to fight, but we can't fight at all costs. Even when Xinren Changzheng proposed to besiege Tiqing Mountain, he knew that the scale of the war should be controlled as much as possible to avoid unnecessary casualties. If we hadn't risked everything and sent a large number of people to launch a surprise attack on Beiman Mountain, we wouldn't be in this situation now. Elder Yuan Zhao was furious, and was about to speak, but he only heard Zhao Jinghong waving his hand and saying, Third Grandpa, it's okay. He looked calm and said slowly, I've thought about it. We still have to fight for the position of the head sect leader, but the clan doesn't need to continue to consume resources. Fool, if you fight alone, how can you possibly beat Master Changzheng? Elder Yuan Zhao said angrily, do you know how much energy and effort the Ziwei sect leader has poured into Qiu Changtian? Do you know how much the Tian and Zhu family has spent? The Tianyuan Yeki sword that Qiu Changtian carries with him was given to him directly by the Tian and Zhu family. So what? Zhao Jinghong sighed, and in turn persuaded Elder Yuan Zhao earnestly, he has a clear mind of Taoism and a first-grade golden elixir. If our Zhao family was the first to discover his potential, how would the clan treat him? The clan has been training you for many years. It is impossible to change the bet on him at the last minute. Elder Yuan Zhao said coldly, in short, you have to fight for the position of the headmaster, whether you want to or not. So much initial cost can't be wasted just because of such a monster. He left angrily, leaving Zhao Jinghong and other clan elders looking at each other in silence. Since the plan to besiege Tipchen Mountain was passed, Qiu Changtai began to deploy the plan. At this time, Kunlun was fighting with the demon cult in Yunzthong. If they wanted to besiege Tipchen Mountain again, it would be a two-line deployment. The scale of the war would inevitably expand, and the number of people required would also increase dramatically. And because Tipchen Mountain is the base of Shirodado, and because it directly threatens the other side's Taoism, Shirodado will inevitably resist with all its strength. How to control the intensity of the war and avoid escalation is undoubtedly a great test of Qiu Changtai's operational level as the head coach. Zhu Yingyan returned to the cave and came to Qiu Changtai. Seeing that he was still thinking hard, he could not help but persuade him. Brother, don't be too tired. There is no shortage of wise men in Kunlun. Why do you have to take on so many hard work? Ahem. Qiu Changtai smiled and said, my duty is due, and I dare not neglect it. Brother is still the same. Seeing that he refused to listen, Zhu Yingyan was not annoyed. He just sat down beside him and started to make tea. Junior sister. Seeing her mixing tea powder with her bare hands, Qiu Changtai suddenly had an idea and asked, when the Zhao family of Guan asked the Zhu family for marriage, why didn't your clan leader agree? Of course, he felt that he was not worthy. Zhu Yingyan replied indifferently. Not worthy? Qiu Changtai said strangely, although Zhao Jinghong is not as good as me, his talent is also top-notch among his peers, right? The Zhu family of Tianan doesn't think highly of him. Zhu Yingyan. How can you say although he is not as good as me with such a calm face? However, considering that her husband was really powerful and had defeated the other party in terms of wisdom and strategy, Zhu Yingyan had the illusion that I am his wife, so I am powerful, and said proudly. Because I have a very smart mind. If you want to be my husband, how can you not surpass me in the talent of cultivation? Do you really think so? Qiu Changtai said jokingly, then if there is no Qiu Changtai with a clear mind like me in the world, will you never marry for the rest of your life? Not impossible. Zhu Yingyan said calmly, for people like me who cultivate the truth, marriage is just something that can be dispensable. If I can't meet someone I can approve of, I would rather never marry. What if one day, I suddenly lose the talent of a clear mind? Qiu Changtai asked again, will my wife divorce me? Hearing that he was not calling her junior sister but wife instead, Zhu Yingyan felt a little shy, but soon answered calmly. Since we are already a Taoist couple, how can we divorce? Unless my husband is keeping a mistress outside without my knowledge, I will not abandon my duty as wife, even if I lose all my power and become immortal, let alone lose my talent for cultivation. At most, I will support my husband for the rest of my life. Ha ha ha, that's how it is. Qiu Changtai said with an awkward smile. What do you mean by that? Zhu Yingyan was a little annoyed by his perfunctory attitude. Am I the kind of stupid woman who is arrogant and incompetent and will not marry anyone other than a genius? Seeing his wife getting angry, Qiu Changtai could only comfort her with gentle words and explain his sins. But secretly, he felt a little uneasy, thinking that with junior sisters use arrogance, if she knew about the existence of Miss Shi and Witch Jiang, wouldn't she be angry and beat me into a mortal with all my power lost? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. As long as my cultivation level is completely superior to junior sister, I will never end up in such a tragic way. Chapter 747 Qiu Changtai goes out in person. Soon after contacting Shushan, a reply came from the other side. To the surprise of the elders of Kunlun, Shushan rejected the proposal to cooperate with Kunlun to attack Shura Road, on the grounds that there were important matters within the sect to deal with. This is not common. You know, in the past, if there were any matters related to fighting, Shushan would never refuse them, and even feared to fall behind. What are the important matters within the sect? Since Shushan was vague, Qiu Changtai didn't know the specific situation. Although he wanted to read the Ling Yunpo file to find out the situation, considering that he was playing against another small account Wei Dongliu, he had to give up. So on the day of Kunlun's expedition, a group of high-level monks gathered in front of Yuxu Palace, and Ziwide's headmaster gave a speech. It was still a long and boring speech by the leader that was almost explosive. Kyo Chang's Time kept a cold face throughout the speech, trying not to let himself wander, and also to set a good example for other Kunlun monks. After the speech, Ziwide's headmaster waved his whisk and set off immediately. Suddenly, thousands of rays of light lit up above the Kunlun pillar, illuminating the sky. Countless sword lights streaked across the Kunlun mountains, like a brilliant meteor shower, rushing towards the Tipchin mountain at the end of the plateau. The sword light of the Ziwide sect master rushed to the front, and the Chi light-splitting sword followed closely to prevent anyone from attacking and intercepting the large force in front. Kyo Chang's Time and Zhu Yingyan followed closely behind with their swords, and several Kunlun elders guarded them from top to bottom, protecting the two of them tightly. I'm afraid that only the demon sect immortals can break through such a terrifying guard lineup. As for the Kisan immortal, there is no need to mention it. This sect guarding immortal has his own magical powers and can go back and forth between Kunlun and Tipchin mountain in a flash, so there is no need to follow the large force. The Shirodaro probably got wind of it a long time ago. There was not a single foreign monk within 100 miles of the outer perimeter of Tipchin mountain, so the idea of killing a few demon sect monks to sacrifice the flag on the Kunlun side fell through. When the Kunlun army arrived at the foot of Tipchin mountain, they first set up a formation on the spot. The formation is equivalent to the war machine of the cultivation version. The larger the scale of the war, the more important the formation is. If the formation is not set up, the Shiro Road will find a super powerful large-scale killing secret method and directly attack the main formation of Kunlun. The high-level cultivators may be able to protect themselves, but a large number of low-level cultivators will die, and the war will not have to continue. As the commander-in-chief, Kyo Chang's Time went to inspect the formation in person. The person in charge of the formation was Elder Jinpo. This Yuning elder has a special liking for formations. It is said that when he first entered the Tao, he originally wanted to join Penglai, but somehow he came to Kunlun. Kyo Chang's Time went over to take a look and found that the formation method could only be said to be mediocre. All rooms such as no fly, weakening and warning used the most standard structure. In the words of programmers, this guy copied and pasted the code, so there should be no problem. Master Chanjiang. Elder Jinpo came to greet him enthusiastically. I didn't expect you also know the formation. I don't know. Kyo Chang's Time didn't dare to admit it, and shook his head quickly. I just came to see how the progress is. Really? Elder Jinpo was obviously a little disappointed, but soon patted his chest confidently and said, there must be no problem with the formation. I have arranged it like this for nearly 1,000 years, and there will be no mistakes. There has been no updated version for nearly 1,000 years. There will be no mistakes, but I am afraid that the demon cult will find loopholes. Kyo Chang's Time was silent for a moment, thinking that this would definitely not work. In military affairs, no matter how cautious you are, it is not too much. If there are any loopholes in the formation and they are caught by the people from the demon cult, can Wei Donliu still stop them from targeting? After thinking for a while, Kyo Chang's Time smiled sincerely. Although I don't understand, I hope to learn from the senior. Elder Jinpo's eyes lit up, and he said quickly, no problem. Changjiang, if you have anything you want to learn, I will definitely tell you everything I know. Then start with this formation. Kyo Chang's Time said modestly. Elder Jinpo began to explain the formation to him diligently. After explaining one point, Kyo Chang's Time pretended not to understand and began to ask questions. After only 2 or 3 questions, Elder Jinpo could not answer. After all, this elder was an elder in Kunlun. Although he was quite interested in the formation, he usually practiced breathing. How could he be Kyo Chang's Time's opponent in the formation attainment? He was speechless. Kyo Chang's Time persuaded him earnestly and put forward some insights, so Elder Jinpo began to ponder. When he completely figured out the key points and knew how to change the formation, he found that Kyo Chang's Time had already left in a low-key manner. After the formation defense was settled, Kyo Chang's Time began to confirm the plan for the deployment of troops. There are many steep cliffs around Tipchin Mountain, and many of them have been hollowed out into caves to hold Buddha statues. A Kunlun monk carefully checked and found that many of these caves had secret passages behind them, but they didn't know where they led to. To be on the safe side, Kyo Chang's Time ordered everyone to stay away from the grotto to prevent the Shirodaro fan monks from appearing and attacking. He also sent people to challenge the Shirodaro sect and fought day and night to attract the attention of the demon sect. After a few days, both sides suffered losses. Although Kunlun had more wins than losses, 2 Jindans unfortunately died on the spot. One was hit on the top of his head by the water pestle and died on the spot. The other was sprayed with poisonous blood by the opponent. He forced himself to return to the main camp and died before he was rescued. Qiu Changtai also had a headache. Although casualties on the battlefield were inevitable, considering that he was the one who proposed the plan to approach Tipchen Mountain, the more Kunlun monks died here, the more they would inevitably be blamed on him. Considering that most Kunlun monks are senior nerds, they usually only focus on breathing and refining ki, and are not as good at fighting as the Shushan Sword Immortal. If we want to really reduce the casualty rate, we can only strengthen the strength threshold of the monks who go to battle. The strength here refers to the comparison with the same level. For example, if Shura said that there was a cultivator of the Yue level of the Jindan realm, Kunlun certainly could not send out a Yuning level cultivator to fight him. And whoever is stronger in fighting skills is more likely to survive. Well, if you have to use a standard, the higher the Jindan level, the stronger the strength of the same level. Thinking of this, Qiu Changtai suddenly realized and laughed. After all, it is still necessary for this Changgungshenren to take action to reduce the casualties of Kunlun to 0. I must go to the battle myself. Qiu Changtai quickly came to the Ziwili sect master, told the reason to his master, and finally took the initiative to ask for a fight. The Ziwili sect master pondered and said nothing. If it were in the past, he would definitely not agree to let his beloved disciple fight. After all, there is only one first-grade Jindan in the world. If he goes to the battlefield, he might be plotted against by the demon sect in various ways. But now Kunlun Tai King sect and Shurudado have already started a full-scale war. If Qiu Changtai continues to hide, it will inevitably make the sect feel that he is being protected, and even worse, it will become doubtful of his strength. Never mind, since he is going to be the successor of the headmaster, how can he not hone his skills more? If I remember correctly, you said last time that you have reached a bottleneck, right? Ziwili headmaster asked leisurely. Yes, master. Qiu Changtai nodded. Well. Ziwili headmaster took down the chia-splitting light sword and handed it over, saying, take it for self-defense. The Shurudado foreign monks are brave and good at fighting. It would be a good thing if you can break through the bottleneck in the life and death duel. But don't be careless and complacent, but with your personality, I am naturally relieved. Qiu Changtai said yes, took the chia-splitting light sword and left. Ziwili headmaster watched his beloved disciple leave, and felt a little uneasy. He couldn't help but continue to calculate the fate of his beloved disciple with his fingers. Chapter 748. The first battle was won easily. Near the foot of Tipchen Mountain, there is a large desert covered with sand and stones, on which only sparse wormwood grows. In addition, there are bloodstains everywhere, like bloody roses blooming everywhere on the ground. The monks of Kunlun Tai King sect and Shurudado fought on the top of this desert. Since most monks are often strong in spears and weak in shields, and have far more offensive means than defensive means, the battle is basically decided in a few breaths. The body of the loser is often quickly snatched back by the main formation in the rear. In most cases, as long as they can hold on for a breath on the spot, they can be rescued later. Of course, if the danton is pierced, the top of the head is smashed, or if there is something fatal to the monk, the probability of survival is very slim. Above the desert is a protruding cliff of Tipchen Mountain. There are foreign monks who have been monitoring the bottom of the cliff for a long time. If a Kunlun monk comes to fight, they will immediately wave the flag and ask the sect to send the corresponding people down the mountain to fight. There are 5 colors of command flags: white, yellow, blue, red, and black, symbolizing the increasing urgency. When a Jindan Kunlun monk challenges for the first time, he will wave a white flag. If he kills 2 Shurudado people in a row, he will wave a yellow flag, and the one coming down is a powerful Jindan-level foreign monk. The mechanism of the blue flag and the red flag is the same, but it corresponds to the Yuning monk. As for the black flag, everyone knows it, so it's better not to talk about it. But today, the foreign monk stationed on the cliff is called Yuli Mao, an ordinary monk who has not yet formed a relic, Jindan. Seeing someone coming down on a sword, he stretched out his hand and pressed the Buddha statue next to him, injecting his true energy. The gem laid on the forehead of the Buddha statue emitted light, shining on the desert visitor below. After a while, the gem suddenly turned golden. The golden color means that the visitor is a Jindan monk who has not formed a Yuanying. Yuo Limao then skillfully picked up the white flag and waved it. After shaking it a few times, I heard the monks at the foot of the mountain say loudly, Changgungshenren of Kunlun Tai King sect, I have come to learn about the power of Shurudado. Changgungshenren. Guo Limao was still waving the white flag, thinking that he seemed to have heard this name somewhere. Isn't it the famous first-grade golden elixir in cunning, the one with a clear mind? He quickly stuck the white flag aside and pulled out the yellow flag and waved it vigorously. What a joke! Chan Zheng's rum of this grade of golden elixir came here. How could an ordinary relic monk be able to fight against him? Putting aside Guo Limao's psychological activities, there is a sect station of Shirado at a higher place in Tichin Mountain. Whether it is a temple or a pagoda, they are all built with stones mined deep in Tichin Mountain. Because the stone is rich in magnetite, the walls of the building are also black, mixed with many blood veins, giving people a sense of solemnity and coldness. In the open space in front of the mountain gate, the foreign monks on duty today were resting. When the flag was waved at the foot of the mountain, they would send people down to fight. Seeing Guo Limao waving the white flag, someone asked, "White flag, whose turn is it today?" "Zhukya." The foreign monk next to him answered. The monk named Zhukya stood up, urged the magic weapon, and flew down the mountain. After a while, the yellow flag was waved again at the foot of the mountain. Zhukya was killed by Kunlun dog. All the foreign monks present were shocked. No. A foreign monk suddenly said, "Look, junior brother Zhukya is still flying down the mountain." So everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Although Zhukya's strength is not the strongest among the crowd, he has the ability to protect himself. If he is defeated in a few breaths, then the opponent must be a tough one, so he must quickly call his brothers over. Why did they wave the white flag and then the yellow flag? Oh, I guess it's because Kunlun sent out two people this time, one of whom I haven't seen before, and the other is very powerful. I'll go. The young man named Zaxa stood up. Although he looks like an innocent boy, his inner strength is the strongest among the monks present. It is said that because of his innocent appearance, he was valued by a great monk in the sect, so he was given all kinds of spiritual resources, and his cultivation progress was very fast. Although the other foreign monks despised this brother privately, they did not dare to offend him too much in public, but just flattered him repeatedly. "Brother Zaxa, if you go, you will make sure that Kunlun dog will never come back." But Qiu Chang's hand below stepped on the jade dragon sword, raised the Tianyuan Yeki sword in front of him, and carried that Shifengguang sword on his back, standing calmly in the air. Then he saw a foreign monk coming with a flying bowl, chanting the Buddha's name, and asked, "I'm a poor monk, Zhukya, may I ask your name?" "I am Kunlun Changan." Qiu Chang's hand said lightly. Zhukya was stunned for a moment, and then cold sweat came down from his smooth forehead. Who doesn't know Kunlun Changan? When the first-grade golden elixir was formed, Kunlun Yuxu Palace publicly held a ceremony to worship the ancestors, and at the same time announced it to the world, and specially notified all the great powers to show off. Thinking of this, Zhukya's 70% fighting spirit was gone, and the remaining 30% had turned into the desire to urinate. Is it too late to say that he needs to go to the bathroom now? Before he could speak tremble English, he saw Zaxa also flying down on the sword. "You are the Kunlun challenger, hey? Why is there only one person?" Zaxa said quickly with an innocent smile, but his tone was full of arrogance. "In that case, let's fight quickly and decisively." "Brother Zaxa." Zhukya hurriedly reminded him in a low voice, "This person is, no matter who he is." Zaxa waved his long sleeves. "You step back and watch me kill this person." After saying that, he threw something out of his sleeves, which was a pair of gold and copper knife wheels, flashing with cold light and murderous aura, and cut towards Qiu Chang's hand's head. The so-called knife wheel is a magic weapon with the characteristics of Shirado. It looks like an iron ring, but there is a sharp blade on the inner side. When facing the battle, it will be sacrificed and thrown into the air. It will fly towards the opponent, wrap around the neck, and then turn around, and the head will fall off. Moreover, the flight trajectory of this knife wheel is extremely strange, which is very different from the ordinary flying sword path. Therefore, if an inexperienced cultivator encounters this strange magic weapon, he will often suffer a great loss. But who is Qiu Chang Tian? After practicing swordsmanship for 100 years in Shushan, his swordsmanship attainments have long been outstanding. He pointed his finger and the Tianyuan Yeki sword shot out, just hitting the spinning knife wheel. The more powerful the true energy injected into the Tianyuan Yeki sword, the greater its power. With the true energy strength of the first-grade golden elixir, the killing force on it is enough to split mountains and rocks. It immediately cut the knife wheel into 2 pieces and dropped it to the ground. Zaxa was stunned for a moment, and then his eyes were bloodshot and he roared, "You, how dare you destroy what my godfather gave me?" Qiu Chang Tian. "Wait, are we fighting or magic? What are you talking about?" Looking at Zaxi on the opposite side, he seemed to be furious, his face was red, and he pinched the magic formula in his hand, and suddenly he opened his mouth and spewed out a large piece of flames. The blazing flames were not like ordinary fires. The deep red inside was like snipper. It was probably some kind of fire poison that was refined into it, and it was extremely vicious. If an ordinary cultivator were to touch this poisonous fire, their limbs and meridians would burst immediately, and the poisonous fire would attack their hearts, and it would be difficult to cure with medicine. However, for some reason, Qiu Changtian had a lot of experience in dealing with fire-related Taoist magic. At that moment, he just tapped his toes, and the Jade Dragon Sword immediately moved sideways more than 10 feet to avoid the spray of cinnabar poisonous fire. He snapped his fingers, and a green lightning flew out and hit the young Zaxi. Zaxi quickly put his hands together and raised a copper bowl magic weapon to defend himself. The jade pivot lightning hit the surface of the copper bowl, and instantly there was a loud thunder, blowing a big hole in the bowl surface. The remaining lightning continued to move forward, sinking into Zaxi's chest and piercing his body directly. Chapter 749 I have a secret method to restrain Changjiang. Lightning flashed through Zaxi's chest, and the young foreign monk fell from the flying magic weapon. Zhutia, who was standing next to him, stared at the horrifying scene in a daze. Suddenly, he found courage from nowhere and quickly urged the flying magic weapon forward, snatched Zax's body and fled all the way to Tipchen Mountain. Qiu Changtian stood with his hands behind his back, and did not chase after him. In his opinion, Zaxi was probably the son of a high-ranking official in the clan. He was arrogant but not very strong. It was useless to kill him. Instead, he could be released and asked to spread the reputation of Changjiang. Therefore, he just stood quietly in the air, waiting for Shiro to respond. The news that Zaxi was injured by Changjiang soon spread within Shiro. The first person to react was the Dharma King of Eternal Life Adolji Trizing, who was Zaxi's godfather in Shiro. The Dharma King of Eternal Life was immediately furious and wanted to go out to avenge his son, but was stopped by a group of elders. If Shiro really dispatched the Yuning elders to cross the level and fight with Changjiang, the opponent would definitely turn around and run away, and considering the importance of Changjiang to Kunlin, there must be many Kunlin elders waiting in the camp to rescue him. If they fail to kill Changjiang, the reputation of Shiro will be completely lost. In the eyes of the world, Shiro is not able to defeat Changjiang's Jindan cultivators, so they can only shamelessly dispatch Yuning old monsters to bully the weak, but they didn't succeed. Shame. After pacifying the king of Changshen, everyone began to discuss countermeasures. Kunlin's surprise attack came too quickly, and the other Jirizhao sects had not yet come to help, and the gate to Tipchen Mountain had been blocked by Kunlin. Since they could not fight head-on, Shiro decided to delay and wait for help, waiting for the Six-Dao Alliance leader Wei Dongliu to send people to rescue. Although they tried to delay that time as much as possible, they could not remain indifferent when someone was blocking the door at the foot of the mountain. Otherwise, it would be spread that Changjiang killed Shiro alone and no one dared to leave Tipchen Mountain, and Shiro's reputation would be ruined. They must defeat Changjiang quickly and severely damage Kunlin's arrogance. Of course, if they could not win quickly, it would be acceptable to fight with him for a long time without losing the upper hand. Tenin back 2. The great master of Shiro, Master Mokong, said in a sinister voice, "Your relic realm has been cultivated to perfection. Do you have the confidence to face the real person Changjiang?" As soon as the work fell, a foreign monk with a solemn expression stepped out, put his hands together and said, "If I can't defeat the real person Changjiang and return in defeat, I am willing to suffer the pain of the devil's fire burning my heart." Good. The elders cheered in unison. Tenin back 2, the real person Changjiang will be left to you to deal with. Tenin back 2 turned around expressionlessly and left the palace silently. As soon as he stepped out of the mountain gate, he saw a man coming out from behind the rocks. It was the old monk Gilai. "Brother," he said with a sad face, "do the higher-ups want you to duel with true man Changjiang?" "Yes." Tenin back 2 finally showed a worried look on his face and frowned. "True man Changjiang is a first-grade golden elixir, and he also has the Tianyuan Yeki sword and the Five Thunders orthodox method. I really can't think of any possibility of winning." "If you want to win, that's wishful thinking," Gilai said with a sad face, "but if you just want to protect yourself, it's not difficult." The reason why true man Changjiang went to the battle was not to pursue victory, but to reduce the casualties of Kunlin monks in the battle. Otherwise, with his strength, he should have gone out to win on the first day. Considering this, when you duel with him later, you must not fight with all your strength, and try to restrain yourself. It's best to pretend to be defeated and let true man Chan Zheng gain the upper hand. Then flatter him a lot and ask him not to kill you, so as to delay time. After a long time, if the opponent becomes impatient and wants to use a killing move, you can say that your true energy is exhausted and you have to go back to replenish your elixir. Given Kunlun's arrogant style, Chan Zheng will definitely not chase and kill us. Then, you can come back and report that it's a draw. As long as we are not defeated in name, the masters have no reason to punish you. I see. Tenin Baktu suddenly understood and said, Junior brother Gilai, I appreciate your good words. If I can return safely this time, I will definitely reward you. He hurried back to the wing room and found a lot of defensive magic weapons, and then hurried down the mountain to fight. Qiu Changtime looked curiously and saw that the monk opposite was a tall man, about 8 feet tall, with bulging muscles, holding a bowl shield in his left hand and a demon subduing pestle in his right hand. He didn't look like a cultivator, but rather a heavy infantryman with an ale hammer who traveled from the ancient west. May I ask if this is Chan Zheng in person? Tenin Baktu asked in a muffled voice. Qiu Changtime cupped his hands, then pointed and shot the Tianyuan Yeki sword. Tenin Baktu wanted to get close to him and say a few polite words, but Qiu Changtime's attack came too fast. He could only shout like thunder and pour all his true essence into the bowl shield in his left hand, forming a shield wall shining with golden light. Then he was hit by the Tianyuan Yeki sword head-on, and the light shield almost collapsed instantly. The remaining force pushed Tenin Baktu back dozens of feet, and he had to stop the momentum by rubbing the demon pestle station. I can't beat him. Tenin Baktu felt a sharp pain in his abdomen and cried out in his heart, knowing that the opponent could easily break his defense with just a casual attack. It can be seen that Qiu Changtime's true strength has far exceeded that of the Jindan realm monks and completely crushed him. The two fought in the desert, and countless monks gathered in the Kunlun main formation behind the high iron city cliff to watch the battle. Seeing Qiu Changtime beat the enemy away, the Kunlun monks who were watching from afar did not cheer, but showed a calm expression that should have been so. It's just our Kunlun's first-grade golden elixir. It's normal to crush opponents of the same level. As for the foreign monks watching on the mounting, their expressions were not so good. Tenin Baktu is one of the most capable brothers among the relic monks. Although he is not liked by the masters for some reason recently, his strong strength cannot be faked. If even he can't beat Chan Zheng's Hinran, it can only mean that the first-grade golden elixir is too strong. If he goes to fight with the same level, he will die. However, it sounds too embarrassing to send Yuning monks to deal with Jindan's Hinran. It is expected that the high level of the sect will definitely not agree. Carefully weigh it, is the reputation of the sect more important, or the lives of the relic monks more important? Of course, the reputation is more important. The masters are not short of disciples in the relic realm. If one dies, there are plenty of people to replace him, but the reputation of Shuradatta must be won by real swords and guns, and it cannot be damaged by such a small matter. Thinking of this, the foreign monks were all terrified, hoping that Tenin Baktu could hold on for a few more rounds, so that they would not have to come on as substitutes later. I don't know if he heard the voices of his fellow disciples, but Tenin Baktu, who was beaten out, barely stabilized his body on the ground, spit out a mouthful of blood, and stuffed a few pills in his mouth. Then his whole body of true energy surged, and a huge Dharma body with 3 heads and 6 arms, dozens of feet tall, condensed behind him. The Shuradatta secret technique, Akala. The 3-headed and 6-armed Dharma body, the 3 heads were respectively showing ecstasy, anger, and peaceful expressions, and the 6 arms were also holding huge weapons, smashing down on Qiu Changtime's head. The offensive was like a storm, thunder and lightning. Qiu Changtime's face did not change. He raised his hand, and a ray of lightning shot out, instantly breaking Akala and disintegrating in the air. Seeing this scene, he exclaimed instead. The opponent's Aklanatha Dharmakaya is condensed but not solid. It looks scary, but it doesn't have much power. Qiu Changtime was a little surprised when he heard Tenin Baktu's pale face and frightened voice. Kunlun Chang'an, is his strength so terrifying? He can break my Aklanatha Dharmakaya with one blow. How amazing! Chapter 750. The trapped beast still fights, pretending to be exhausted. Although Tenin Baktu tried hard to perform, his acting skills were really rough. On the other hand, Qiu Changtime was an expert in this field and immediately saw through his clumsy tricks. However, even so, he did not intend to expose the other party. First of all, such a performance can bring Qiu Changtime an invincible synchronization value. Although Kyo Chang Time's prominent reputation as Changjeng's Hinran has spread throughout Shanzhou due to the full publicity of Kunlun Tai King sect, it has brought him a huge amount of synchronization value, so that now he does not need to bother to perform and brush, but it is good to get something for nothing. Secondly, this can indeed make it easier for him to be lazy. If Kyo Chang Time sees through Tenenbaku's performance and kills him neatly, will Shiradayo give up sending people to challenge? Of course not. After all, the mounting gate has been blocked by people. Even if it is better to delay time in that fight, it is better than to be afraid to fight behind closed doors. The latter will be looked down upon if it is spread out. In other words, Shiradayo will continuously send people to challenge, creating a tragic momentum of we are not afraid of Kunlun. The more Kyo Chang Time kills, the more the other side will send, then what's the point of trying to win? I'm not Zhu Yinbayan. He always remembered that his purpose was to contain the Shiradayo and prevent the demon cult army from borrowing the road from Tipchen Mounting, not to show off his military power or promote his reputation. As long as the Kunlun sept stays at the gate of Tipchen Mounting, the goal can be achieved, so there is no need to add unnecessary details to avoid unnecessary trouble. Seeing Kyo Chang Time standing still, Dancing Batu's heart further verified Gilai's judgment, so he showed a tragic expression of although I can't beat you, I still want to fight. Although in Kyo Chang Time's view, it was just a very ordinary gritting of teeth. Roaring again, Dancing Batu re-energized his true energy, condensed the three-headed and six-armed Akala Dharmakaya behind him, and then clenched his fist to condense the Dharmakaya into himself, making his skin covered with a layer of light golden light, as if cast in bronze. Kyo Chang Time scanned it with interest and found that it seemed to be a spell that simulated body forging. As the Dharmakaya and the physical body merged, the latter's solidity was greatly enhanced, and it could even defend against the stabs of flying swords. Then, Tenenbaku rushed towards Kyo Chang Time, shouting and punching. Akala fist. Kyo Chang Time was extremely speechless. You're on the ground, I am flying in the air with a sword, and you hit me with your fist. What on earth are you thinking? The fist wind whistled at him, and he was even too lazy to dodge. He just let his arms hang naturally, and Tai King Yuan-Ki smoke and mist surged out of his sleeves, like a large cloud of mist. This treasure is one of the two defensive magic weapons that Kyo Chang Time obtained from Kunlun Fenbahu Rock. It can slow down everything that enters, even flying swords. The fist wind of Akala fist hit the cloud and mist, and it was immediately like a mud cow entering the sea, and it disappeared in an instant. On the cliff of Tipchen Mounting, a group of elders watched the battle below the mounting, and they were also speechless. Tenenbaku has lost his nerve. Elder Taimei frowned and said, after being knocked to the ground, he should fly up again and recover his speed. How can he stand on the ground and continue fighting with the opponent? It is impossible not to lose your nerve. Elder Mokong said dimly, look at Changjeng's magic weapon, isn't it the Tai King Yuan-Ki Yan-Lan? Tai King Yuan-Ki Yan-Lan was used by Yuan-Ki's Hinran in the past. An elder explained, it is said that this treasure is a defensive treasure, especially good at defending against flying swords. Yuan-Ki's Hinran wielded it to fight against 12 sword immortals of the same level in Shushan, and defeated them all, and the flying swords could not penetrate it. So, the sword on his back is the Chifengguang sword passed down from generation to generation by the head of Kunlun. If he even has a treasure like the Chifengguang sword, even if you and I rush up, I'm afraid we won't be able to kill him, right? Don't say such discouraging words. Elder Mokong scolded, how can so many elders surround and kill his Hinran? Some things can be done in private. For example, when Su Jian, the 7 killings master of the Jinnan realm, was too fierce, he was regarded as a serious threat by the Shiradayo. Finally, they saw an opportunity and sent out several elders to ambush and kill him on the way, but that was in private. Now is the time when Kunlun and Shiradayo are facing each other. If they really do this unorthodox act, on the one hand, there are too many elders in Kunlun on the opposite side, and it is almost impossible to kill Changjeng Master by surprise. On the other hand, they will also be ridiculed by the world. Of course, the main reason is that they can't kill him, so don't mention it. So the masters of Shiradayo looked at each other, and they were all at a loss for a while. If Tenenbaku loses, who will go next? Elder Taisha asked as if to break the awkward atmosphere. But this question was so depressing that no one wanted to answer it. Let my dragon elephant disciple go. Elder Mokong said. No one knows what the original name of Long Xiang is. He changed his name to Long Xiang because he specialized in the dragon elephant pulling mountain divine power in Shiradayo. He is a very rare body refining cultivator. This cultivator who focuses on body refining has an average combat strength that is not inferior to the Shushan sword Immortal, and even surpasses him in terms of survival and endurance. The only problem is that the speed of cultivation is too slow, and cultivation determines the upper limit of life and the potential of the Tao, so few people learn this. When they heard that Long Xiang was going to be sent out, the other elders had no objections and nodded and said, "That's great, let Long Xiang go. I don't ask him to defeat Chan Zheng's Hinran. If he can fight for hundreds of rounds without losing, that's fine." Elder Mokong almost vomited blood. "What do you mean by fighting for hundreds of rounds without losing? Do you think this is acting? Let your own apprentice let his Tianyuan Yeki sword cut him hundreds of times and try it." With a gloomy face, he said coldly, "Let's see how Tenenbaku performs." In the desert below, Tenenbaku was already fighting like a trapped beast. He knew that if he showed too weak, Qiu Changtian would lose interest and kill him directly. But if he showed too strong, Qiu Changtian would feel threatened and use a big move to kill him. Therefore, he could only keep condensing Dharma bodies, such as the Akala Vidyaraja, the blood-drinking wrathful Vidyaraja, etc. And then integrate the Dharma bodies into himself, on the one hand to strengthen his own defense to prevent being easily killed, and on the other hand to look more intimidating. After the fusion of the Dharma body was completed, the whole body was shining with golden light, and then he started to fight randomly without any rules, deliberately letting the real person Chan Zheng to break his attack moves easily, and then pretended to be exhausted, and said in horror, "How can this be? My trump card can't even touch the corner of your clothes. Good trick. Good trick. Even this doesn't work. I am completely convinced by your ability. Stop. My true energy is exhausted, and I can't fight anymore. Could it be that Kunlun wants to win unfairly? Wait until I recover some strength, and come to learn from the real person Chan Zheng next time." Feeling that the time was almost up, Tenenbaku suddenly stopped his moves, roared loudly with the sound of dragon and tiger, and shouted so loudly that Kunlun's main formation and Tipchin Mountain could hear it clearly, then turned around and fled. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.